My name's Sam. This is SamBar podcast. This is my buddy.
Name's Logan. Pretty much met Baron back in 2016.
Yep.
We were both ended up joining the Marine Corps at the same exact time, so we were at MEPS at the same ship out day, except they went to Paris Island. I was the Lone Ranger going to California.
Yeah, what a weirdo. I went to California. Bet they don't eat bananas like this.
They don't. You're psychotic. You are psychotic. I actually got a buddy one time. Back when I started doing
so
roofing.
That's gay that way.
Well, I was doing roofing, and I actually have it on video because he'd always come in. It was like I was a project manager for a roofing company down there in Florida, and that's what I was kind of doing right after the Marine Corps. And he would always show up to his jobs, kind of check on. He was one of the salesmen, but every time he'd show up, he'd have a pocket banana. And it's like he'd be talking to you, and then just be like out of a cargo pocket because he'd wear 5'11" tactical pants, but he'd pull out a pocket banana and just start like peeling it.
Because they got that mag pocket.
Yeah, not for mags. It's for his banana. It's like he'd be on the roof, sitting up there feeling like he's majestic, but then he'd pull out that banana. And start I never understood it. I'd give him a hard time for it. Because like some days he'd wear like this bright yellow like peep looking shirt. And so I'd be like, you got your pocket banana out here? Get your little yellow shirt on?
Blends right in.
Hell yeah. Man, I remember the day that we shipped out, because I had a burner phone back then actually. So like, because
I remember you were going all the way to, so you needed something.
Yeah, because I went from Montgomery.
Give you a lot of crap for that too.
Right?
Yeah, we went at MEPS Montgomery.
Yeah, Montgomery. So then I flew out of Montgomery to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta flew to San Diego. And I remember, it's like when I got to Montgomery Airport, it was like a 5-hour layover because like y'all got right on the bus, and then I had to go to the airport, and there was like 2 other Army kids that were flying out too at the same time, but we all flew to Atlanta, and then when I got to Atlanta, there was like maybe like 2 or 3 other Marines that were going to boot camp at that point, and then I sat next to a guy. He was in the Marines, just got done with boot camp, and he was going to BRC actually. I remember talking to him. Already had his head shaved, everything, still real moto guy, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate your life. Like, good luck. You're gonna die out there, son." Yeah. And I was like, I was 18 at the time, so I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be great." And then
thanks, I hate it.
It was like a 6-hour flight from Atlanta to San Diego, and I remember when we landed, it was like 9:30 p.m. and they told us like, "Hey, you're gonna have like about 45 minutes to go to the USO. You can chill out. You'll have a little decompression time." And I remember they were like, you had a food voucher to like get something at the airport to eat.
Yeah.
And I remember we were like, me and the other guys were like, let's go find something to eat. So we got Subway, like all of us did, and we're walking out of the San Diego airport with our sub sandwiches, and we're kind of like eating them, and then like all we can hear is just screaming. Right when you walk out the doors of the San Diego airport.
Yeah,
and
right.
You just hear, aye, sir, like over everything, because it's like one of those like kind of parking level things. Like it just echoes, and so like I'm sure like you could see all the civilians are like, what is going on? Yeah. And you can hear the drill instructor, and then like you just hear like all the recruits responding, and then this drill instructor comes out of nowhere and starts screaming at us like, what? You guys have sandwiches? And we're like, oh my God. So we start...
Have food voucher, bro.
Yeah, because like, we're hungry, man. We hadn't eaten at all. Like, we thought we were going to have time to go sit down in the USO and actually eat a sandwich. Because at this point, it's like almost 11 o'clock at night, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I had that phone on me. And so I was like, well, I don't really need this because it's not my phone. It's just a phone that I had, Yeah. And so I just kind of dumped it. And then... went on, had to do the whole bus thing. I'm pretty sure they drove us in circles because they had to put our legs between our...
Oh, yeah, they did the same thing in Paris Island.
And so I'm pretty sure that, because like the thing though is that the San Diego airport literally borders...
Right there.
It just borders the depot. And so I was like, it took maybe like a 15-minute drive. So I was like, I know they just... Because like, there's no way it took that long to get us to the depot.
Because that's how it was. Whenever we left Montgomery, we went and it was that long drive up there. We stopped at a Golden Corral. That was our final meal, the last supper. We're like, really? The hog trough? That's where we're going?
I wouldn't have blamed.
Well, I didn't want it to unsettle me in already an unsettling situation. I remember our bus drivers, or they weren't even. It wasn't even a bus. It was a van. And whenever we were pulling up there, I remember on the way up there, the driver was like, "Hey, got these." He said, "Any of y'all dip, smoke?" A few people raised their hand. He's like, "I get rid of that crap right now. You know, you can't. If you bring that in, it's better for you to rob a bank than to go on to the island with contraband." And then everyone's like, "No, we got rid of it all." He's like, "Who wants the last dip?" And he just passes. It was a gallon-size Ziploc bag full of Copenhagen Skull, dude, Grizzly, whatever you can think of. He's like, "All right, there you go. It's your last one." And same thing. Like I remember, I was like, "Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close." And they start. You remember Trammel, right? We called them thumbs while we were at MEPS.
Yes.
But the whole time he's like, "I ain't scared. This ain't nothing. I ain't scared." It was kind of a joke, but we were like, "Yeah, you say that now." And we pull up, we do the whole putting our head down, they drive around, we're like, come on, like, where's the footprints? Come on, just get me to the footprints. We, then and the whole time you're like, all right, here it is, I've been waiting for this. And it's a nervous, but it's not a scared thing. Then it stops, you can hear the drill instructor's boots. He's like, where they at? Where they at? And they throw the door open where it shakes the van. Like, get off my van right now. And you're like, oh shit. It was, and then Cody, well, his name was Cody Trammell. But Cody's like, shit. As we're walking out, I remember I go by him, he goes, I'm still not scared. I was like, yeah, okay. And we got on, because he had hair about like you do right now. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Yes.
It was, but it was blonde, it had long hair. And then they got on to me because I had sideburns. Like, he had a full-on wig, and I had sideburns, and they were like, what is this? And they made us shave it in MEPS.
Yeah, they made us shave it.
Yeah. But he was the only one. I think they knew that. They're like, oh, he's about to have a heyday.
The way you're describing it, too, and I feel like a lot of people are like, man, it sounds like they're having, like, it's like they're on death row and they're getting their last meal, it's kind of like, because that's what it was like, like everything that you know about life is going to change within the next 48 hours, like, and for the rest
you're not going to be sleeping for those next 48 hours.
No, but it's like, it's such a complete culture shock that, because growing up in today's society, especially for guys like us, it's such a change because we've grown up in a life that is very, very comforted.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever you're finally like taking that step to go get out of your comfort zone, it's completely different. So people that haven't done it and they hear about it, they're like, oh my God, like, how could you do that? It sounds terrible. Like,
yeah, people are used to the Xboxes and the PS5s and the constantly on your phone and just the world at your fingertips. And then you got to ask to breathe. And you're like, come on, what the...
But I would love to go do it again. Like, I would do
knowing what you know now, yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I'd want to do it from square one. But having the playbook, having the cheat codes, yeah, I'd go back.
Having just like the experience itself, though, something that like I know you would never trade and I would never trade it. But like that initial moment though was terrifying because like they put us on the white bus and like you said, you can hear the drill instructor like stomp up there and give you the whole speech, and then you get out there and you're on the footprints for the first time because. So I'm a fourth generation Marine. So my dad, my grandfather, my great grandfather were all Marines before me, and so they all went to California. So that's why I was able to go to California as well. If one of them had went the other way, like if my dad went to Paris Island, I might have wanted to do it. But with all of them going there, I was like, I want to go to California. Like I want to go there and see what they saw, train where they trained, and earn the title where they earned the title.
Yeah.
And so like that's the whole reason why I ended up wanting to go to California and going there. And I don't regret it one bit. It was beautiful. Like, the depot itself is nice.
My cousin went, after I joined, I think I was in for about a year and a half, and he joined, and he went, lived in Washington, so he went through San Diego. Mm-hmm. So that's what he talked about. He was like, we had the Reaper. I was like, well, we had sand fleas eating out our ass all the time, so.
Did you ever make it out to Pendleton?
Yeah, I went there. Actually, the only reason I went there was to visit people that guy that I went to boot camp with, Simmons, he was my bunkmate and rackmate. But he was out there. His family, he was stationed out there, and then Jared, my best friend, he was stationed at Miramar.
Mm.
So I mean, those are right down the road from one another. So we went out there. I think it was July. Yeah, basically like the first summer after a year after I went in, I went out there uh, to Miramar first. We hung out with Jared a little bit, and then we went to Pendleton. I saw Oceanside. That's where Simmons was, and it is gorgeous.
Beautiful out there. I mean, and that's like one of the things that I love about like Pendleton in that area was just like getting to climb those mountains and then getting that view because like that's something you don't have down here in the south.
No, that's what I liked about going to Helena.
Oh yes, dude, that was hands down probably one of the best times I think we've had ever on drill, and that's what sucked about COVID coming in because we were supposed to go to Boise that next year, and then COVID ruined that.
Ruined everything. I honestly, COVID ruined my career, my Marine Corps career.
It ruined our Marine Corps career.
I mean, everything that we were supposed to do didn't get done, and then I think it kind of derailed my motivation at that point because I was like, I'm not staying in. I'd already started the business at that point, and I'm like, I don't see myself re-enlisting based on how things are going. I don't see myself re-enlisting, and I can either tend to my business or I can tend to the Marine Corps. I knew I couldn't do both. And there's plenty of people that do, don't get me wrong. But me personally, I knew I was like, I need to focus on one or the other. And it worked out good though.
I mean, I don't think, hindsight 2020, would you have stayed in?
Probably not. Just because, I mean, don't get me wrong, TRICARE was nice.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've been planning on doing my own thing anyway as far as civilian side goes. And it's hard enough to schedule and coordinate things without something that a factor like drill that it's like, all right, well, especially let me back up a little bit, especially with right now being hurricane season. Right now is our busy time.
Oh yeah.
Like we are, my equipment's down right now, and it's been rainy last few days, so that's already kind of got us jacked up. But usually this is the time where we're working 5 days a week, where once we hit kind of October through December, we're getting like 1 or 2 a week. So it slows down a good bit.
Really? That's
and
crazy.
I'm talking like now we get big removals because they're, I mean, oh, I don't want this to fall on my house. So we can land higher paying jobs now because they're removals, but then during the winter it's just, well, we don't want that to maybe fall. A lot of times it's little trimmings. Every now and then you'll catch someone like, oh, our tree is dying. I'm like, well, it is fall. Leaves do fall in the. Yeah, it's dying. Yeah, it needs to go. That's not good. You don't want that thing in your living room.
For sure, for sure. I mean, me personally, when I look back at it, I don't regret it either. Taking the out at the time.
Which for me, I mean, like we got out what 4 months early.
Just about.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't that long, but another thing too. Our unit changed after that. It wasn't just whether I would have stayed in. 90% of the people that I loved and respected, and they all got out around the same time. So now it's all fresh blood. I can count probably on one hand the number of people that I still know there. Where it was, I mean, you could fill 2 buses full of the people that I worked with, all the time. And so it's kind of sad the way it didn't end the way I thought it was going to, because I knew I wasn't going to be a lifer. No. That's not how I was expecting it to end, because I was going to do that last AT and then get out. And I knew I was supposed to get some because I went to CMT
Yeah.
running the ranges, and that was another one of those things that I was told, man, if you just stay in, we'll give you the NAM. And I was like, really? Like, that's why I'm going to stay in? I'm going to get a little ribbon? You going to give me a little ribbon I can have?
Hey, man, the ribbon candy.
Yeah.
Some dudes love that. That's all they live for is getting that next ribbon.
It's them admin folks, boy.
Hey, man. Don't talk about that. I got plenty of paper cuts in there, dude. I don't like talking about it. It was a tough time. It was a tough time. Inspections everywhere. It was tough, man. We fought tooth and nail every day in that admin shop.
Yeah.
I
actually got paid on time though, so.
Hey, we made sure everything ran smoothly. If you knew some of like the stuff, like I know guys that were like active duty admin, like the horror stories of their shops and that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah,
Third Force had a pretty tight shit when it came to admin, mainly because we had good chiefs every time. Like Staff Sergeant Lewis, she was a hard hitter.
I've done work for her after I got out. She was like, "I heard you doing tree work now." I was like, "Yeah." Like, I got some trees need cut. Like, I got you.
She's one of the greatest people to know, but like she also cared about every single person inside of that unit.
Yeah, she was not. She didn't have favorites. She took care of you. Like, she didn't look at you. Oh, civilian life, this or when you're in uniform, you're not good enough at that. It was like, hey, I'm gonna get you taken care of. I worked at Ingles whenever she was there, and I needed. I was building my house, and like it wasn't like I was getting paid while I wasn't at Ingles, but I got plenty of excused absences. She's like, here you go, just change the date. I was like, oh.
That's one of the beautiful things about Third Force is that if you needed time to like get some pay or somewhere, like you go in and do ADOS and come in on orders, and we also had like the hurricane stuff that we'd go in and do sometimes.
That aggravated because it was like it'd be standard hurry up and wait. They'd get everyone in, we'd stage the boats, and I went to Coronado to go to the coxswain's course to run those boats.
Yeah.
So we come back, we'd be just waiting to deploy, so to speak, and then they'd be like, oh, nope, they gave it to National Guard. I was like, what?
Well, I remember like when I was sitting there talking about it with some of the guys, they were like, yeah, well, like we'd be ready. You were like within 16, 18 hours, like the boats would be ready, the trucks would be fueled, ready to go, convoy lined up. Here's the plan. Here's the action. Here's the fuel plan. This is what we're doing. This is our stops. Everything laid out. And then we'd sit there for 2 more days waiting. And because at the same time, like the state governments, if it was bad enough, they probably would have used us. But it's a big bill whenever the federal aid comes in and we start handing, because somebody's got to pay the bill for us going out there.
Fuel and all the
and it's not gonna be Uncle Sam. It's gonna be the state that had to pay it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why they resort to National Guard, because they are state.
Or they already paying the bill.
Yeah, they're already there. Extra. But when it's in Florida and we're going down there from Alabama, then that probably gets a little. Which I don't know how all their admin stuff works, but
I wouldn't dare to cross into it. But that's one of the things too about the unit that. I love those that, if you needed something, like you could go in and do those ADOS orders and get it some extra time, and then you knew everybody.
There was plenty of people that like, hey, I just lost my job, I need to, and they're like, all right, well, we'll put you on for 2 weeks, apply while you're here, apply.
Yeah.
And, because there was always someone there, and I don't mean just I.
Oh yeah, no, there was always somebody on orders doing, and at the same time too is like you weren't just sitting, like there was stuff to do, like you'd go and do stuff, like you would actually do your job, you'd help out, you'd get ready for the next drill, and all this good stuff.
Take a 3-hour chow.
But hey man, the Drury Inn was the place to be too, because like you got dinner, you got breakfast.
Yeah.
So like.
And then Lucky's was across the street.
Yeah.
That's where everyone always went, was Lucky's.
Well, that and.
Or way downtown, but.
You go way downtown. I remember my first weekend at the unit. was it was actually drill. It was that first AT. Everybody went to Eglin, but
I remember.
the one didn't go. The one stayed
Yeah.
back because we had an inspection, and so like it was my first weekend at the unit, or first 2 weeks at the unit, I should say. And just now, I met Burst, met Padron, you remember all them,
Yep.
Curry and whatnot,
Yeah, it was
and
a good career.
it was great guys, and quickly became some of my best friends. But the first night we were there, everyone was getting ready to leave, and then like the second night, y'all all left, and the second
I
night
remember that.
there was no supervision at all. The only supervisor we had at that time was Chief Warrant Officer, but that was his first short weekend too. Like,
Stewart?
Yep, that was his first weekend there, or first week there. So he was brand new too, to be even being a warrant officer. Like he was fresh out of training as well, and he'd been an admin forever, but
Yeah, just
his
not
first time as an officer essentially. And so like the second he was supposed to go to Eglin that following day because he was going to go do the pistol range with you guys.
Yeah.
And so my corporal at the time, Phil, we'll just leave his first name in there.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, we're going to go do all this. Like, we're going to the bar. We're going to go to a block party, and then I'll take you back to the hotel." Because I didn't have a car at the time, so like he was my ride everywhere. I was like, "Are we sure we can do that?" I was like, "That's kind of like fraternization, isn't it?" Or little of me was like,
"Yo, Buddha."
I was like, "Isn't that fraternization? Like, we can't be doing that." And he was like, he just basically was like, "Shut up."
Man,
We're doing it as a shop. He's like, it's a shop activity. Everybody's going.
Yeah,
So,
we're doing. Well, that was because that was whenever I got to Third Force, I was PFC, and whenever I checked in, I'm walking around lost in the sauce. Everyone was in the field.
Yeah.
So the unit was pretty empty, and so I think it was like 2 days. I walked around, met a couple of people. And then I was like, okay, all right, I get it, small unit. And then everyone comes back from the field, all the recon guys, they actually did a patrol. I don't remember if they were at Shelby or Schofield. Anyway, they were somewhere where it was, they got pretty toasty. And this was February. Like, they got sunburnt in February. And I remember... Gunny Davis walks in. I stood up, parade dress. "Good evening, Gunnery Sergeant." He goes, "Knock that shit off." I was like, "I Gunnery Sergeant," because that's all they teach you.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting. They said, I remember at MCT and Bootcamp, they're like, a sergeant is about all you'll see. They're like, you won't see your staff sergeant hardly ever. If you see your gunny, you're doing something wrong, basically. And I was like, noted. And then checking back my notes, oh, here comes Gunnery Sergeant. All right, good. And then I was like, "I Gunnery Sergeant." He stops because he was reading something. Like whenever I first said, "Good evening, Gunnery Sergeant," he didn't even look up. He just kind of walked in and knocked that shit off. And then he stops, he puts it down. He's like, "Look, I'm going to treat you like a human being till you give me a reason not to. It's I Gunny, or just be respectful."
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Don't, it's like, Roger this. And then after that, it was good because, like I said, PFC, I picked up Lance in May.
Mm-hmm.
So there's about 3 drills there that I was PFC. Of course, I was always taking out the trash and making coffee for the first little while. But when we would actually go do stuff, like at the ranges at AT, and they were able to see that I wasn't just another, I don't want to say typical PFC, but we've had PFCs that flooded, well, no, they were Lances, but whatever. It's just put it all in the same category of Lances. They flooded hotels, you remember that? Right above the Sergeant Majors. That was, but it's like, you got guys like that, and I was actually doing pretty good. That helped me out getting promoted when no one was promoting, or my MOS was closed out. Mm-hmm. That's how I was able to scale. But this stuff was it at the Drury?
No, it was like the one weekend that we were at that hotel, like off of airport, It was.
I don't
It was a
remember.
nicer. It was like a. It was like a Hilton, but it was a nicer hotel.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, first off, this kid, he was a kid. He's what, 18, 19?
He had to be like 19, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, 19 maybe, because he was at the unit for about a year. So let's say he was 19. So not supposed to be drinking. Um, got tore up, plastered. Came back to the hotel. I guess went and take a shower, take a bath. I don't know what he was doing. Turned on the water in the bathtub. Fell asleep. Passed out. Didn't fall asleep. Passed out
Yeah.
in the tub. Tub overfilled. Overflowed. Flooded the bathroom. Started dripping down on Sergeant Major's face.
Woke him up.
Woke him up. He was like, "What the?" And they, I mean, at first they didn't know what it was, but then once they looked into it, oh, dude,
$15,000 in damages.
Yep.
I mean,
So somebody got ninja punched. Not gonna say who, but somebody got ninja punched.
you know, speaking of ninja punches, I remember when I first got to the unit, there was a fresh ninja punch right out the gate. You probably remember this one.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was on orders, and then whenever they got off orders,
Come on, Chris.
yes, Christian, they didn't turn off his GTCC, his
Yep.
government travel charge card.
That's
so this
when-
dude just went on a spending.
Well, and that was another thing too. Is I remember whenever I got there, initially by looking at him, I was kind of like, "Oh, this guy's a shitbag." Like that was my first impression of him, and totally guilty of like reading a book by its cover and not giving it a chance. And then whenever I heard that, I was like, huh, "Checks out." Then for whatever reason, I got stuck on some duty with him. I don't remember if it was Firewatch. I got to know him, and then you come to find out everything that had happened in his life.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then, he was like between jobs and all that stuff, and he used the card, and it's like, yeah, that you're not supposed to do that.
No.
That'll get you ninja punched, but
He had his
he
reasons.
had, and there was people at the unit that were just ready to burn him.
And there were
the
people
old
there that
Sergeant
were
Major-
ready to.
The old Sergeant
stick
Major,
up for him,
remember?
too. Yeah, oh yeah.
That he wanted to burn him. Not just him, but there's a couple officers too, and they were just had it out to get him. And Lewis was one of the ones that looked out for him the most.
Oh, yeah.
After I got to know him, I was like, man, that's just a kick after kick after kick. And I remember, time had went by, and there was times I'd take him home because he was in Pensacola. There was times I'd take him home, and we'd go and have some burgers. I forgot the name of the place, but it's like an old school burger joint, and very kind of retro feel. And that was actually the first time I had a PBR was there, and and it wasn't like a Whataburger burger or anything like that. It's like a Lucky's burger, like a big, greasy,
Heart attack
thick,
waiting to happen.
juicy. Yeah. Anyway, very nice. But we went and did that a couple of times. Mallory got to meet him, and he was always super respectful to Mallory. And I remember once it was time for him to pick up rank again. He wanted me. I didn't know this till later, but he wanted me to pin him to Lance, but they wouldn't. Because he was in his shop, and they wouldn't let anyone else come in because it was Lance Corporal's second award.
Yeah.
They were kind of like, we're not going to make this a big deal. Like, you're getting promoted here. That's it. And whenever he told me that, I was like, I immediately felt bad because I thought back to the first time that I saw him, and I was like, look at this piece of shit. And I had to eat my words because he was one of the best dudes from Third Fort, most genuine guys. Yeah,
take care of you, whatever you need in supply. Like he was always there to do his job. But
give you the hookup.
It'll please you to know he's still doing pretty good.
I reach out to him every now and then on because I never could get a phone number. It was always so Facebook was the only way to get in touch with him. And Mallory brought it up not too long ago. She's like, we need to go see Christian again. And I was like, Yep.
He's still in Pensacola. I was actually me, him, and Burst were just playing Call of Duty the other day. We're playing Warzone together.
Nice.
Because like he still plays that all the time, but he's still in Pensacola and he's doing good. Because that was maybe like last week sometime.
Okay.
But
I need to reach out to him. I'll go out there because I'm probably gonna have to go pick up some parts for my some of my equipment out in it's in Pensacola. So if he's around, do you know where he's working now?
I'd have to talk to Philip on that one. He talks to him a lot more than I do. They talk almost every day. It seems like.
That's good though.
But
That's very good because that I remember that is checking into the unit. I had one image of the Marine Corps like this. I had an image of this boot that's loaded up, ready to kick at any point.
Yep.
And then whenever I got there, and I mean, gunnies and staff sergeants and everyone was like, "Hey, if you need anything, like, do you have a job?" And I remember I was looking for a job when I got back. Gil, you remember Gil?
Yeah, okay.
I'm supposed to be cutting some trees for him coming up, but Gil was like, "Hey, man," because I think he was Motor T. They asked, I remember it was during formation, like, "Hey, do we have anybody look for a job?" I remember raising my hand. I didn't know where. I thought it was one of those like blanket statements, and then I had people come up like, "Hey, where you at?" I'm like, "Well, I'm in Mobile," and some of them were like, "Hey, if you want to move to whatever Destin,
Yeah.
Tennessee, wherever it is they were from," they're like, "Hey, we can get you a job." And then Gil was like, "Man, we need a deckhand on because I forgot who it was that he was working for, but he was working on tugboats. He's like, we need a deckhand. If you want, man, I can get you in the door." And that was my first drill. I was like, all right. And then with every drill, it was just, I mean, it got, I guess you could say better and better, but it opened my eyes up more. They're like, hey, they're humans too.
Yeah.
But that's also,
We had it different though.
that's what I'm saying.
We had it so different at Third Force because like we were a family, there.
Yeah.
And it's like
it wasn't just this like, oh, we're a family because we're at the unit. Like, no, they would call you, check on you randomly.
yeah. So like when I lost my thumb, half my thumb right there. Like instantly, Sergeant Major, Lieutenant Colonel Waller, they were calling me like, "Hey, you good? Like, what's going on?"
Waller was
The
probably
best.
hands down the best.
But he's like, "Hey, you need anything at all? You let me know." Like, and that's usually a blanket statement for most people. But like you
They actually meant it.
no, like if you needed anything, like they would do whatever they do.
They keep calling you back to make sure
they would call in whatever favor they need to do wherever you're at to get something to you to whatever you needed, and they would do everything in their power to help you out. And that's what was different though with like being in that kind of family, because like most units, it's like, okay, you do 2 years and you go to some other unit and it's like always changing over. But we're there for six to however many years you're in almost, and and that's kind of one of the things too. It's like it's almost good that we never deployed, because like if we deployed as a unit and like if we would have lost one of our guys, like like that
would have been a little more devastating
than just But it's just because like I've known these guys for 5 years. I've watched your baby born. I've been with your family for my family at that point.
When my brother, I don't know if you remember, my brother had that aneurysm in 2020. It was like we had our drill. Our last drill was in March, I believe, or February, and then the world shut down like 2 weeks after.
Yes.
If you remember that,
yeah.
I think when we called him Patient 1, because he was the first one who was showing symptoms of possibly COVID, and I remember he was walking around with a mask and stuff. But I remember they shut that down. I believe it was March, because April we went to. Sorry, let me backtrack. April, I was pouring that driveway out there, and my brother was here. We're all working at the house, and he had a brain aneurysm rupture, and he fell out of nowhere. No signs, no warning signs, nothing. Just damn.
It'll get you.
And we didn't know what. And COVID is now in full swing. The whole world's shut down. You're not allowed to go to the hospital. Like, they took him up there. I can't go in and see him. I can't. So, and I called. I think it was either Lanier. Anyway, I let them know like, hey, this is what's going on. And Sergeant Major Lusk.
Mm-hmm.
He was the last one that was there right before. I think he left and I got out around the same time.
Just about, yeah.
But he called me. He's like, hey, if you need something, let me know. This is my phone number. Like, call me. And he called me about once a week. Hey, how's your brother doing? Do y'all need anything? Are you struggling financially? Like, do we need to do that was the kind of stuff that he's also, and I know there's so many stories to go off of, but this is something I never expected out of a sergeant major. I mean, you're expecting leniency out of your CO.
Yeah.
But, like, the CO's like the mom, and sergeant major's the dad.
He's the hammer.
And I remember I was like, I had a vacation paid for and booked. Vacation was in October. I think it was October 21st. Well, you know how our calendars work. Fiscal year starts in October. So, and I booked it so far out, I did not know when it would be. So I was like, let's roll the dice. I just picked a date. And wouldn't you know it, that's the date that we had drill. And
our ball.
Do it?
And our ball. We always had our balls in October.
No, it's November. That one, that was just a drill. Yeah, that was just a drill. And I remember I called, and this was, again, COVID stuff. This was in 21. Mm-hmm. Oh. So COVID was kind of going out, but now they're pushing the mandate on the vaccine. And if you didn't get vaccinated, you couldn't RIDT. Yeah. You couldn't reschedule. So I called Sergeant Major and I was like, I don't know who else to call. I was like, I know I need to run this up the chain of command, but everyone just kind of gives me the most blank answer. I was like, I don't know what to do. I said, I bought, like, vacations paid for. I've got this resort, blah, blah, blah. I can't reschedule it. It's non-refundable. I booked it back in January. We didn't have our calendars. If I'd have known, then I obviously would have. And after being there for 5 years, I'd never had any kind of. Yeah. I was never UA. I was none of that stuff. And he said, "Well, you got to do what you got to do. Like, this is when drill is." And that was something else that I brought up. I was like, I'm trying to RIDT because they always fussed about when people would try to RIDT like 2 days before drill. Like, yeah. No, you're not going to get it approved. At this point, I think it was August whenever it was either August or September, but it was every bit of a month to 2 months out that I could have rescheduled, and I tried, and he's like, all I know to tell you, son, is 9 UAs. We got to start paperwork. He's like, and as you know, one full day of drill, that's 2 UAs. He's like, it's a 4-driller. That weekend in October was a 4-driller, so that means 8 UAs. He's like, and he just basically laid out. He didn't say don't show up. He's like, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you will be marked UA if you're not there. But. And he's like, and it is a 4-driller, so you're going to get a whole whopping 8, UAs. You only get 9 of them. And those UAs don't go away unless you make up them drills unpaid. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. He's like, I'm telling you, you need to be at drill because you're supposed to be there. I can hear him knife handing me over the phone. He's like, but.
This is how the Marine Corps works.
Like, he's like, I'm telling you, you need to be there and that you will be marked UA. Do with that information what you will.
And that's one of the crazy things too, is like being in the admin shop, you learn a little bit more about it. So if someone is like those 9 UAs and we haven't started paperwork, because like you have to like go through like a certain process. Yeah. Like you have to like contact like their next of kin, like, hey, well, you gotta try to contact them first, like, hey, what's going on? Can't get in touch with them. You call like their mom or their parents. You contact the address on record. Then you send out like a letter saying like, hey, you are now UA. But if you don't do that process, like you can't even start it. So like they could be up to like 40 UAs, but then
And
S1 hasn't had to start the process. They can come back and like they can't do anything negative against them because they didn't start the actual UA process.
Yeah, so you can't drop them.
So like it's crazy. Like I knew a guy that was like that. He was like at 40 UAs, but their unit was like their shop was just
didn't care.
Didn't care.
That was whenever I came back too. He was like, "Hey man, how was Missouri?" Because we were going to Branson.
Oh,
and I told him, I was like, "Look, I'm not making this up. I gave him my whole itinerary, and no one called me because like I just didn't show up to drill. I didn't even contact my chain of command, like Gunny and Lanier. I didn't even tell them because I was like, if I straight up say, "Hey, I'm gonna miss it," then it's like, okay, you're. But I could have probably wrote it off and like, "Oh, I thought it was next weekend. Now I'm so dumb." Yeah. And then the following drill, which was November, that was my last ball. I remember Sergeant Major walks up and was like, "Hey, how's Missouri?" I was like, "That's good."
It's great. It's a fun time. Nothing ever compares. I will say you probably have one of the best ball environments being able to be down here in Mobile and like stay at the Renaissance. I mean that.
Dude, those weekends. That hotel is like $300-400 a night.
Oh yeah, you pay $90 for your
especially. Well, whenever I stayed, I had to pay a little more. I done made it up to corporal. And the friggin' junior Marines got the hookup. I think y'all were at 60.
It was something stupid.
And then it was $100 still. E4 and E5 was 60, and then I never made it past that. So
yeah, but like that hotel was super nice. You're right there downtown, just to go bar hopping with everybody else because we had 2 units at the unit.
Yeah.
Or at the
that place, yeah.
And so it wasn't just like our guys, and like some of the other guys in the other unit. You don't actually ever work with them really, but who they are.
Yeah.
You see them around, and like I'd known some of them from like school. Like I went to school with a couple of guys that were in that unit.
There was guys from Bootcamp that I remembered seeing that I was like, I remember seeing them downtown, and I was like, I never thought I'd see you again. I was like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, I'm at GSP.
GSP.
And I was like,
oh, huh.
Wow.
GSP was like one of those units though, because like their actual like shop area was so small.
It's the size of this room.
Literally. But then they have like a unit not too much smaller than ours, but yet they operated out of such a small area compared to us. And
yeah, they literally, like, we had the whole downstairs, we had the armory, we had the locker room, we had the bathrooms, and they got, like...
this little room.
Yeah. And, they were the Harry Potter of that. They got
they had like 60, 70 dudes that, operated out of there and whatnot, and... great guys. I mean, they're all really nice guys too. But and that's one of the weird things too, is because like me and you never thought we were going to see each other again because we didn't know that we were going to the same unit. Whenever we first joined the Marine Corps.
When I was talking to you, you were going to be Ricky Recon.
Oh yeah. Doritos out of that freaking biggest regret of my life because I mean like that's
because then you came to a unit full of Recon guys and you're like
And then Gunny Maddox was always trying to get me to go back. He was like, "Come on, go try again. You got it. You got it now."
He was one of the original MARSOC guys.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was MARSOC before it became They were the ones that were asked to leave Afghanistan. They were
please.
If you go through, he showed me the pictures.
Yeah.
But like he was MARSOC before he was Recon, and before MARSOC was MARSOC. Like he was, I'm talking bearded up operator, dude. And I was like, because I remember when he told me that, I was like, so what the hell happened? He was like, shut up, man. My knees are busted. I was like...
one of the coolest dudes, at the unit, and that's what I think, too, about the unit is, like, because there were some guys there that, they're Marines, but they weren't the most physically fit. Okay. And so, like, if you were in the top, if you had a Class 1 PFT and, CFT, Gunny Mag was like, come on.
Oh, yeah. That was, and especially working in the 3 shop, which was nothing but 21s. Yes. It was like... I remember anytime we'd get in U-21s in, they're like, so what do you do? I'm like, yeah, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
If no one knew any better, they would have thought you were 21 because you just sat in there.
Yeah. Well, but that was my environment. I was around, from Rankle to, I mean, all of the good dudes that Recon, that Third Force had to offer, they all go through 3-shop because they're, I mean, Lucky. Probably one of my favorite Marines to this day is Top Lucky. He was genuine, hilarious. Probably the funniest dude I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's...
But also, like, those guys were some of the most knowledgeable about actual, like, anything to do with the Marine Corps. Not only just, like, the actual Marine Corps side, but also, you know...
admin
side of it.
They were the ones that... Yeah, they're the ones that actually taught me how to do a 9-line.
Well, those are the guys, because at the time that we're in the Marine Corps, you know, we haven't been in, like, an active conflict, you know, to, like, an extreme extent in so many years. Like, these are some of the last guys in the Marine Corps with actual combat experience.
Yeah.
You know, just in general. Not like, okay, there's plenty of guys that have deployments, but, like, did they ever actually see combat deployments?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's the thing. And, I mean, I know every time you say something like it reminds me of something, but think of the ball. How many dudes at the ball do you see and you're like, bro got a Bronze Star, Purple Heart, combat action ribbon, all this stuff. And he's the guy that's just like,
hey guys, it's good to see you. You doing good, buddy? How's the kid?
Yeah, he's like, hey man, that's good. You doing good? You need anything? And come find out the dude holds the longest kill at the unit, and you're like,
oh, okay.
Oh. Okay.
And it's like they're the nicest guys, but they're the guys that at the end of the day, you know, they will stack a body, and if they have to, and but at the same time, like they have so much knowledge they can pass on, and there's
kinky.
I had a feeling that was gonna happen.
Yeah, I'd hate that to get another banana to eat sideways. That'd be a good short.
Starting out with control chaos.
You gotta zoom in, motherfucker.
But as we were saying, there's so much knowledge there. But at the same time, you know, like there are times where you get to have to go do stupid stuff, like in Montana, whenever me and Post had to go chase the cows off the range.
Yeah.
That was
on a 50 cow range too.
Hold your fire! Those cows did not give a flying fuck. Like that,
they were paid actors for Yellowstone.
400%. Like those, like, because I remember like the National Guard guys was like, if the cows come out, like we got to stop. And I'm like, what the hell do you mean? I was like, there's no way a cow's gonna come walking onto like a live.
Do you remember the warrior dinner that we had?
Yes.
Like, where do you think them steaks came from?
I mean, like, because
someone canoed a fucking beef.
But like that was the crazy part about it. It's like they were there the whole time, just behind a hill, just chilling, eating grass, and the one was like, "Hey guys, let's go up the other side of it." While there's 50 caliber rounds flying over their head, like they were just so used to it.
Yeah.
And I remember like because like those dudes, they were like, "Oh, these are like protected cows, like they are endangered or whatever. Like they're
by the state of Montana. They're getting shot at."
And I was like, but that was the same time I was like, this is an artillery range too. I was like, how the hell do you have government protected cows on an artillery range? Like you're not going to be able to see what the hell. You're just going to see a cow flying like it's Twister, you know? Like, oh shit, cease fire. There goes another one. But it's like, those cows did not give a shit. And I remember, like, they drove us down, like, half mile down the range, and they're like, go hide in a bush. We're going to corral them to you, and then you guys just jump out and scream at them.
Yeah, let me trade in my 8-point or my boonie for you just take your boonie and just roll it up like a cowboy hat.
Do the string thing.
I got one in there. That'd be a good little thing. Just grab and just put it on. Like, I tell you what.
That was a fun time. You know, that's like a once in a lifetime thing. You can be like, yeah, I chased cows in the hills of Montana. And
dude, that's one of those trips that, like, I didn't deploy. I didn't do anything.
No, yeah, we didn't.
Worth to really to send home, but that trip was only 2 weeks, but I felt like we did
a lot.
Months.
I mean, even like whenever they actually broke it down to us and like we actually learned, like, saw how much we actually did though, like we did a lot. Like, and to be honest, like we spent the entire 4th Marine Corps or 4th Marine Division's 4th quarter budget. The entirety of the division's budget in the 4th quarter on that one AT. And we were going to do it again.
Yeah.
That next year. If not, we were going to spend more money the next year.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like,
Going to Idaho,
but that was one of the beautiful things about our unit is like, since that we were the only special forces unit in the 4th
could
Marine
do
Division.
stuff, and we're like, hey, we're, you know, whether it's the boats, whether it like whatever the case was, we always
Go shoot snipers
the
out there.
helicopter ride though.
Yeah, that was
I still got photos, videos, because my buddy Jared. So that right there, that's actually, I think, one of the coolest things I got down here. That flag was flown on an Osprey.
Nice.
While I was doing the Crucible
Really?
at Paris Island.
That's pretty
My
cool.
buddy Jared was deployed at the time, and he got the cert. It's signed by the pilot, so it's pretty cool.
That is pretty nifty.
And so I knew a little bit about bird life. I looked at, whenever we were there, we were talking. I talked to the pilots a little bit, and remember, man, I forgot his name. He was an admin. He was the black guy with the Maturi. I was talking to one of the to the co-pilot, because she was from either Mobile or Daphne or something like that.
Yeah.
So whenever she said that, I was like, "Oh, you're from down there." I was sitting there just talking to her. It was totally platonic. And I walk away later, and he goes, "Oh, better nuke. Always talking to the ladies." I was like, bro.
Maturi was the most just out of pocket guy, because like so a little backstory about Maturi. He's from Kenya. Like, he is Kenyan through and through. Came to America because he won the lottery in Kenya, and the lottery in Kenya is you get to come to America on a green card. I remember like Maturi was talking about. I was like, so who all get to come? He's like, me. I was like, what about your wife and your kids and your family? He's like, I left them. I was like, you left your family?
That's my deal. You get your own.
Literally, I was like, that's insane. And he was like, hey, you come to America. And then like, I remember like there was one time we were like, hey, Maturi, because like everybody, you remember this, like every shop had to have a pistol. Like, like, you know, drawn. And so one day they're like, hey, Maturi, go draw the pistol. And Maturi was like, oh, I don't like government issued weapons. And we were like, what? What do you mean?
You are a government issued
Exactly.
weapon.
We were like, okay, Maturi, whatever. So like, I had to go draw it, but he'd always just like have like the most out of pocket things to say, like out of nowhere, just like that. And then the other thing too is like he'd almost never wear deodorant. That one, that was the part that
seems to be a common foreigner people thing.
You know, I mean, it kind of is. You know, I remember there was a summer where I met these J1s, what we called them. They'd come into Destin and they'd work for the summer. They were foreigners, international students on work visas essentially. And I met about like 4 or 5 Russian girls that were working down there. Sweetest girls ever. I mean, ended up having a summer relationship with one of them. Her name was Sinya. Beautiful girl. I mean, we're talking blonde hair, blue eyes, real sweet girl. She would at first she wouldn't wear deodorant, and then I was like, hey, like, you know, like you should probably
try this on for size.
Because we're in Florida now. I was like, you know, whenever they're living in Russia, that's nothing like it is down here. And so I was like, you're sweating a lot. And so after that, she was, you taught her tip top shape. But she was like, they are 2 generations behind us there. So like whenever I'd be at work, she would make me lunch and then walk 2 miles to bring me lunch to work. Like girls in the United States are not gonna do that for any guy that they like. Like that's just not happening.
Man, I don't do that.
They might drive, but they're not gonna go walking. You know, in the summer heat.
They get on a mule. Come on, sandwich gonna get cold.
Like, and I remember it's like the first time it happened, I was like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "How did you even get here?" Because she didn't have a car. They'd have to either walk or bike anywhere they went. So I was like,
she walked uphill both ways.
Apparently. And I was just like, okay, I can get used to this. You know, this is nice, real nice.
Yep.
And but they were honestly some of the nicest people that like I'd ever met. And I remember I actually took her to meet my dad. I took her to Texas because she wanted to visit every state that she could while she was here. And so like I took her to Texas and he met my father and whatnot because I was going there anyways. And she gave him like one of these like little Russian nesting doll keychains, so like a little gift. My dad, he works for a government contractor, Lockheed Martin and whatnot. And So like he cut into it to like make sure there wasn't a listening device because he's got a top secret clearance and whatnot. So he's like, let me just make sure there's nothing
Yeah.
in this, and it's kind of funny because he still has it, but he super glued it back together. And once he was like, oh, okay, no, she's just a nice person.
Yeah, she's
whatnot.
just genuine. Putin send her.
Oh, dude, there was like a solid minute where I was like, is this a trap?
It's a plant.
Oh, because I mean, like
Take advantage of me.
You heard like Post went to the Intel school, and like at the Intel school they have traps out there. Like there are sugar pots out there, and so like there was like a little piece
there was
of
a
me
trap in Montana. You remember that one?
Yeah. I don't think I actually met her, but I remember hearing about it.
She was the I don't know if she was an actual trap, but she was the hairdresser. I was like, hey, she. By the time she finished my haircut, the person next to me, they were on their third person. And then Roy Smith was like, damn, bro, you gonna like get her number, take her home or what? And I was like, dude, first off, I'm married. Second of all, which for him, that don't matter. But I was like, nah, he goes, man, she just kept talking to you. He said, did you violate any OPSEC? I'm like, no, I just kind of let her talk. I said, I just told her everyone's name at our unit and where we were staying. But yeah, that was one of those things that I was like, I could see other people looking at me. They're like, why is it taking so long? Because we all got the same haircut.
I remember trying to get haircuts up there in Montana.
We had to put civvies on and go into town.
We had to walk. Like I remember, so I went with Jones, and I think we had Materi with us at that point. So we had one of the two like only black guys in the unit, and we're in the middle of Montana. And one thing about Montana is there's not very many.
Not a lot of those.
There's not a lot of those up there. And so like we had to walk. We walked into like 4 or 5 different barbershops when like we'd have Jones walk in. He'd be like, "Can you cut this?" And they'd be like, "No."
Whoa! What? Oh no, sorry.
They would just shake their head like, "No,
I don't know.
We can't cut that." So like we had to keep going. Like we finally found like there's one place. They had like 6 or 8 barbers in there.
That's where we all went.
We had to text you. We're like, "Hey, this is the place to go."
Yeah, because it was I think it was like in a strip mall kind of deal, but it was a big they had a wall dividing down the middle, and it was at least 8 people
barbers in there.
In there, and that
was the
one...
only place that would cut their hair. And I remember who the chick you're talking about now. She didn't cut my hair. I had some.
She had like black hair, and I forgot who it was, but there was someone that was in love with her. Like I want to say he was in supply, but he was like, dude, look, because she cut his hair. And he's like, let me know if she asks about me. I was like,
what are you, middle school?
I was like, what are you? Yeah. I was like, you're the guy cutting the cake because you're the youngest dude at the ball.
For sure.
I was like, you're the child here.
It doesn't even matter anymore. You just lost all your
I was
points.
Like, first off, no, what she's gonna ask me. There's 100 dudes here. She's gonna ask me, hey, the little short, cricket looking dude, and he come, you know him. So
you remember the flight attendants on the way up there? There was a hot flight attendant. I remember every dude on the back of that plane.
I don't remember.
Was sweating.
I think I helped. Yeah, I was loading the bags.
I did that too. I was in there
me
with
and
you
loading the bags, and
that's a once in a lifetime experience. And everything how that was like.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so this is
how
the
they
belly
do
of a
okay
747 looks like.
Playing Tetris inside the bottom of a 747.
It's pretty easy to play Tetris with like 200 sea bags.
Yeah,
and then you get a few deployment bags in there,
stuff them full.
And but that was I mean because I know we left late at night and we flew into Montana. It was early in the morning, so I remember looking out the window and seeing the skyline with all the
tree,
mountains,
the hills of just grass rolling.
And then, but it's July. We're actually
70, 75
like
degrees.
Right now, we were up there right now.
Yep.
4 years ago?
Just about. It's got to be, yeah.
No, 5.
No, it was 4.
4 years ago was 2020. We were not up there in 2020.
5 years ago.
I spent, holy crap. It does kind of seem like it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it does.
But, man, I remember it was July because it popped up on my Snapchat, like memories.
Oh, yeah.
But we stepped out. It was probably 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was 55 degrees outside,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just like blew my load everywhere. I was like,
Midday,
"This is
it's like
nice."
it's maybe 75 at the hottest.
I think the hottest that got up there was high 80s, but it was dry.
It was
So,
dry.
and we were camis too.
Do you remember the smell? That's what like shocked me when we first stepped off the plane, like the smell of fresh air.
Oh, yeah.
That I had never smelled before. I was like,
What's that smell? It's oxygen.
it smelled like pine sol. You know, it was like this is
Yeah.
power pine sol, baby. Like it was just this sweet smell. And I remember like towards the end of it, we all got sick. I don't know who it was that was sick there, but like half the squad bay that I was in got sick, and I remember being so upset because I couldn't smell the air anymore before we left, and I was like, "This is bullshit."
I was trying to remember because they gave us Libo, and that was the funny thing. We actually got Libo while we were up there.
Yep.
But no one left.
Nope.
I think there was like 3 dudes that left.
Well, it was like we had to be back like in like 2-3 hours, and we were leaving the next day.
They already did the warrior dinner and stuff, so that was awesome in and of itself, because those steaks were not your Waffle House steaks. They were, I'm telling you, they were that cow that y'all shot.
It
was that cow. They brought it in, and what really, I want to say meant a lot to me, but to me what stood out, that's probably a better term to use, is it wasn't just like, all right, grab a steak or you got your steak dinner and whatever. No, like they had the big cooler and they're like, how do you want it done? You sat there and you waited. I remember it took forever for the line to go through because every person there was on average, like, I think they had 8 grills going.
Yeah.
So everyone got their steak cooked how they wanted. All the fixings were right. They had mushrooms, asparagus, mashed potatoes, like what I would do at home. And then the bar.
Yep.
That was it. I didn't even realize it was a bar. They brought that in just for us.
Mm-hmm.
And
then Lieutenant Colonel, I'm pretty sure Lieutenant Colonel Waller, he passed around cigars too.
It wasn't Waller. It was the guy, because Waller. No, it was Waller. It was.
He brought out the Cuban box.
He brought out a box of. He had 2 or 3 boxes. I'm talking like bricks
for everybody.
Just passed them out. Just like, hey, here y'all go.
You want one? You got one.
Yeah. And I think it ended up being like. I think most people ended up sharing them. There was like 1 cigar for 2 to 3 people. But
they were good.
They weren't bad. Yeah,
they were nice cigars.
They were pretty good. I think he was the supply officer. He was,
I know who
he
you're talking
was a
about.
captain. Hurley. So I went out and I remember after we ate, I went into the bar, and we just started talking about like real life stuff, just life back home, all that. And I kept buying him drinks, and he was there. He was gone, and I wasn't drinking that much. But he's like, after about the 5th one, he's like, Baron, you trying to take advantage of me? I was like, well, I mean, but it was just that. And I know there's going to be guys that have been in the Marine Corps forever, and they've been in different units, and they're going to have, good experiences all around. But the main takeaway for me is our unit was kind of stationary. Yes, we got guys that deploy and that do stuff, but something about 3rd Force just operated different.
It operated different, but in a way that it worked. You know? Like it wasn't like, oh, we're hot shit, like we're better than everybody else. No, it was like, and that's one thing that it's hard to explain, because like when people talk about like SF units and that kind of thing, you're like, oh, okay, those guys, they're high speed, they don't care about anybody. Like they think that they can't, their shit don't stink, and that they operate in egos and they're better than everybody else, and that's how 3rd Force was. That's not how the guys were.
And even then, that's movies, because most of your SF units, the White House across the street from me, guy used to live there. He actually lives in Destin. He's a Green Beret.
Really?
And
he's about 7th group.
Yeah, and he's a major. nicest dude. I mean, he's smaller than you. Like, he's short little guy, and he's a pipe hitter. I mean,
Nicest guy that you ever meet.
nicest guy ever. Like, I gave him some. He bought firewood from me, and then he's like, "Man, I really appreciate the firewood. What kind of beer you drink?" And then he just brought over a 6-pack, and we sat and just shot the shit. But that's how those units are.
Exactly.
Because they focus on what matters. Then when you got a bunch of people doing paperwork and they got idle time on their hands and they got time to flood out bathrooms and hotel rooms, you got to be treated like a child. I mean, honestly, that's what it boils down to.
It does. But I mean, like I said, that's one of the beautiful things about our unit, because like, yeah, we had guys deploying and whatnot, but it worked, and I think that's what when I look back into 2020, it's like, if we could go back to that, oh my god, dude, I would do it again, 100%. Like I miss the guys.
2019, that'd be tips.
Perfect. I mean, like I missed the guys, missed the weekends, because like for a lot of us, it was almost like a vacation. Like, it was like a little break from regular life.
We went out and hiked that mountain with was it Helena?
Yeah, it's Mount Helena out there. But I'm surprised not more of the guys went, because it was optional, So like, there's probably like what, 20 of us, 25. And that was,
I don't know, but there's a picture of it. It was
that was Lieutenant Colonel's like last.
It was about half the people that were there.
But that was like Lieutenant Colonel's like Waller's like last like AT and whatnot, and so he wanted to take pictures and whatnot. Oh, actually, maybe it wasn't Waller.
No, it wasn't Waller, and I'll tell you why. I think Waller was the XO. That's it. Waller was the XO at the time, because Waller came back 2 years later as the CO.
And we were so happy to have him back.
Yeah. But that's what it was, because in 18, 18, man, there's so much. It's crazy how many people, like how much brass we went through. Which, speaking of commanding officers and Phil, you remember when Phil ordered Jimmy John's and the old CO showed up
on a bike?
Hey man, you got a sandwich. He's like, I didn't know whether to salute or what. He's like, I remember Phil said that he almost popped a salute. He's sitting there at his door. He's like, thanks.
But again, like one of the nicest guys that you'll ever know. And like, because like he invited him in, saw the kid, was like, good to see you. It's awesome. But it's like, I can imagine like ordering Jimmy John's and then seeing your old commanding officer, a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, pull up in a Jimmy John's uniform on a bicycle.
Whose wife or girlfriend, I don't think he was married, but I think it was his girlfriend. She owns a bar on Bourbon Street.
Really?
Yes. So, know that he did that just for fun. He didn't.
Oh, yeah. That's literally all he did. He did it for exercise. That's why he ride the bike.
Oh, yeah. But he also did Ironmans, too. Oh, yeah. So, that man was a little...
I mean, he's physically fit, to say the least.
He's absolutely that.
If you could do an Ironman, like, that's next level. So, like, I remember I was a young kid, and so, like, my stepfather at the time, so his dad actually suffered from a brain aneurysm as well. And it kind of sent him into a wee-woo state. And he just kind of went on this health kick. Like, he's a healthy dude. He was a detective from Mobile County Sheriff's Department back in the day. And so, like, he wasn't, like, out of shape, but he wasn't, like, tip-top shape. Yeah. But, like, he started running, swimming, bicycling. He's, like, started doing a lot of triathlons. And then he was like, I'm going to do an Ironman. And, like, really, he got obsessive to the point to where, like, it ruined my mom and his relationship. But he did it. Like, he completed it. And I remember, like, we went, because they were still married at the time whenever he did his first one. And it took him, like, I can't remember how many hours. It was a long time. It was like, started early in the morning, and it was almost sunset when he finished. But he did it. I mean, I couldn't imagine actually doing that. Like, whenever you actually look at the numbers. Mad respect
for people that do, but nope.
Like, because, like, you got to train every day for at least, like, I'd say, like, at least 6 months before you even attempt it.
It was a year, but yeah.
I mean, like, if someone's, like, in shape, they want to train for, like, I'd say at least 6 months. Otherwise, you're gonna die. Like, you will keel over and die.
You're gonna die, clown.
Like, I can't imagine. Like, a triathlon's tough as it is, but then to, like, what is it, like, swim like 5 miles, bike 60, something like that, and then run a marathon.
Yeah.
all nonstop.
Bro,
And then,
I hated doing the 3 miles for the CFT.
the 3 miles, you hit that halfway point, you're like, oh god.
Oh, man.
You remember the PF? So, do you remember Sergeant McCall, the big buff guy in the one?
Yeah.
So I remember his first weekend at the unit. Never met the dude. He was real moto. He was real moto. And his first weekend there was actually it was an AT week, and it was like the Monday or Tuesday before like we had our PFT, like our mandatory PFT at the end, and he made me, Maturi, and Curry do 1,000 pull-ups. And for some reason, since I was the youngest, he wanted to pick on me. So he actually made me do 1,000. I think the other guys did maybe 800, 900. And it got to when I woke up the next day, my arms were locked up like T-Rexes because my muscles were just
I remember, and you couldn't do any pull-ups.
Friday comes around, and it's I do at least 17 pull-ups every PFT. I was never
And you did 1.5?
I didn't even get up. I couldn't even get one.
And I remember everyone was like, what the hell?
Dude, I was pissed,
well, because Mags was I remember he was talking about it. He's like, what the hell? This is, and I was basically saying, you need to train not just the one time. I was like, yeah, but he normally does okay. I was like, I don't know what happened.
And that's what it was. He made us do 1,000 pull-ups that week just because he wanted to do it. Not because we were in trouble or anything. It was he was like, you're going to get big like me, essentially.
That's not how that works.
No. And I remember I was pissed because I went over, I actually almost broke my hand because I punched the hit box we had out there, and I punched it with my fist because I was so pissed. And I remember Burst came up to me. He was like, "Dude,
that's when he lost his thumb."
Yeah, that's the day. But Burst came up to me. He was like, "Hey man, just calm down." He was like, max out your sit-ups, and he's like, and then for the run, just run. He's like, outrun everybody. He's like, you already do that almost every time. He's like, just outrun them. He's like, if you
long,
get
skinny ass.
Well, he's like, if you get a high enough run school, he's like, I guarantee they'll just look the other way because everybody else is so slower.
Yeah, if you're even with me, I couldn't run faster. My fastest time ever was 20:30, which is respectable, but it's not that fast.
No, I mean, most of the team guys are running sub 18 at the longest, and
nope.
The only guys faster than me would be the team guys, and then some of the officers, and then there'd be me. And
I never understood that. I learned how to shoot and fight, so I didn't have to run. You just die tired, bro.
But at that time, I ran. I think I was 18:30 that time, and I remember Sergeant Major walked up to me. He was like, "Whatever that was, don't let it happen again." And so I didn't get Article 11, didn't get any trouble for it, but I was upset, because I was like, "This is stupid." Because like you said, I usually do pretty good. I've never had a class 2.
I remember we were doing the PFT, and I normally get I always hit a wall at 17. I could not get past. Sometimes it'd be 16, but I'm not even that big. I don't have a lot of weight to pull up, but I could not ever break past that point.
Yeah.
Then I started doing tree work and I started climbing. I was doing a lot of that, and let me tell you something. I went up there 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I did 22 and I jumped off and I was like, yeah, that's the most I've ever done. And then Mags was like, really? I was like, what? He's like, you couldn't do one more? He's like, you were pumping them out. You didn't want to get perfect score? Because it changed so much.
21 for so long.
Well, I thought it was 22 was perfect score. And turns out it was 23. That's, for the prime or whatever. And I was like, look, anything past 17 was a shock to me, so I'm fine with 18. Good. I did 22. I'm good. And then we did the, I don't know if you remember the plank off between me and Waller.
I do not remember that. I don't think I was there.
Because we did, and I may have talked about it whenever Tillman was here, but we did a plank off, and it was whenever they were changing from crunches to planks.
Yeah.
And they first talked about it in the 3 shop, and it was the old the INI.
I know you're talking about. I can't think of his name though.
Yeah. Anyway, they were all sitting in the S3 shop, and he's like, oh, they want to do, of all the numbers, it was 420, 4 minutes, 20 seconds that you had to, and I was like, oh, that's easy. He goes, oh, yeah, it's easy? Why don't you do it then? I'm in camis and everything. I was like, all right. And the reason I knew it was easy is because there was an Avenged Sevenfold song that I'd listened to that was, it was Piece of Heaven. And Cody, correct me, is it like 9 minutes long? It's a long song.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd already be planking and that song would come on and I would finish that song and still be able to hold the plank. So I was like, yeah, that's easy. That's less than half the time.
Yeah.
Whenever he said that, and then I did it, and he goes, I think it was like 7 minutes. He's like, all right, I believe you. And then like 2 drills later, we had to run a PFT. I needed a PFT score. Like I didn't have one in the system. And they said, hey, if you already got a score, you want to try doing the plank? Because we're going to be going to the planks. You know, the Marine Corps is going to be switching. It'll be nice to know where you kind of stand. I was like, I mean, I'm doing it for score, but I'll still do the plank. And Mags is like, hey, man, I mean, you know, if this doesn't work out, this is going for score. I can't help you here. I was like, it's fine. I'll punch him in the computer anyway. And so I did that. And sure enough, we're sitting there. It was probably started out with about 8 of us. And then about half of us had dropped off by the time the 420 mark hit. And then it was just me and Waller. And we were sitting there, and we're about 8 minutes in, and Waller's just shaking. I was like, sir, are you okay? Why are you shaking so much? What? And I'm just talking
Do you need to
calm.
core
I was like, are you, if it's your core, just try to relax your core and just hold. I'm like just totally messing with him. And he's trying not to laugh. And then he finally drops. He's like, I hate you for this. Then I still held it for another minute. And Mags was like, dude, you still got to run. Whenever he said that, I was like, oh, God. So then
Didn't think about that part.
Yeah, I didn't think about that part. I was trying to go for a high score.
Well, I mean, at the same time, though, like, I will say, I think doing the planks was a lot better for the run because, like, when you did this, when you did the crunches, like, your thighs would get a little bit of that burn in there. And so, like, your thighs would be, like, just a little bit sore. The lactic acid
I enjoy planks. I really do. Like, but I'll tell you what made me good at planks. Bootcamp.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many times, because, you know, whenever they'd say you got to hold the plank, I remember our senior did it one time. It was for every bit of, I know we didn't have a clock, but I know it was 45 minutes of planking, because he's like, all right, you know, let's just see how good y'all are. And then let me get 1 minute of planks. Well, of course, Fatso, you know, every platoon's got it. Fatso couldn't hold a 30-second plank. Oh, Schlossberg wants to put his knees down. I guess we're gonna start over. I guess we all just gonna wait till he can get his 1 minute in. And I guess you want to relax while we wait on. And then it just, you know how the mind games went, and it went on. And I remember I held it for like, it was a personal thing for me. I tried to not put my knees down or relax. Like, I held it for as long as possible. Dude, I couldn't fart when I was done with that. Like, I was laying there, and I remember I felt my stomach bubbling.
Yeah.
And I tried to, like, you know how you push it out with your core. I couldn't fart. It just came out of me like a lazy ghost. Just
why is it always like that guy with like the weird name that just wants to fuck everything up? I mean, our guy, his name was Schminiknik. That was and it would always be funny because like you could hear we had like his one drill sergeant, his name was Rivera Torres, and he was Latino, but like he had like the crazy accent, but like you could just hear him from the other end of the squad back. Like you'd have to hold in your like laughter sometimes, and he'd always be that one that would he'd get you fucked up for whatever reason. But I will say he did come through in the CFT. That dude, he was an idiot, but an ox, you know. So that CFT was his gold moment to shine. And like you were saying, you were climbing trees and whatnot to help you. Like once I got out of boot camp and was working, because I was doing beach service back then, And so like I was always tanned up. I'm sure you remember that. I looked like a different ethnicity back then. I was always so tan, but we'd carry those chairs out there in the sand. So it was like doing,
Oh yeah,
carry,
high knees.
oh yeah, I mean, well,
Through
not even just high knees, but like those things weighed about like 20 pounds each, and I'd carry 8 at a time. So like we're carrying like 160 pounds in the sand up and down the beach, up the
walking in
dunes.
sand sucks as it is.
So I that's how like during the CFT, dude, like I'd cruise through it because it was like carrying hammer cams is nothing compared to that. So like I always enjoyed that, and everyone else would be dying because it's like 15 minutes of just hell. But it's only like 15 minutes compared to the hour.
The CFT, I always scored 300 on the CFT. The only time, well, once they started changing the runtime, because I was always right at the cutoff, like I made it within a second. And then once they changed the runtime, like before I got out, I made like a 295 because I missed it by like 4 seconds. But as far as the carrying and the maneuver under fire, that I love doing it.
Oh yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time, but like that job kept me in some pretty good shape, and so that it also helped out like just for even for the PFT. Like that's probably why I was so good at running because my cardio was just insane back then. Because it's like if you've ever been on the beach, if you live in the South, so obviously you know how the humidity is out here. But like in the early morning, the beaches, there's no wind, and it's like 99% humidity. And then it's like 90 degrees, 100-degree heat index. And so, like, you're just dripping sweat, can't breathe. So, like, your heart's just pumping. But, hey, it gets you in some good shape. Because I'm back in college now. So, like, right now for the summer, I'm doing it again. I'm working beach service again.
Nice.
So,
I was going to ask you what you're doing now. And
I decided to go. So, I was working for that roofing company. I was their project manager for a while. Loved doing it. Great guys. Bunch of illegals. Loved them to death. Good guys. They work hard, but
they probably accepted you as one of their own.
Eventually they did. Their wives would cook some of the best fucking food in the world.
Whenever I was building my house, that's the framing crew, because the roofing crew is only here one day, but the framing crew, they'd get set up and their wives would be out there on Blackstones and stuff cooking. I'm like, good stuff.
It's some of the best food I ever had. Like you've never had authentic Mexican food till you have a Mexican wife cooking you some food, and they were good guys. They're not all illegals, but some of them were. Of questionable.
I thought you were about to say they're not all good guys. There's a couple.
No, like all of them were great guys. They stayed. I worked with them for about 2 years, and so I oversaw both the crews. The foreman and his brother. They had their green cards and whatnot, but I don't know about all the guys in my crew. But they stayed out of trouble. They showed up for work every day. They were good guys. But and then the owner of the company I worked for, he was a great guy as well too. Taught me a lot. And but I decided I was like, I want to go back to school and get my degree. I don't want to work outside all the rest of my life. Eventually I want to branch out and get into different things on my own businesses and whatnot. But I was like, let me go ahead and get my degree out. And then I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do afterwards. I'm studying business management with a minor in finance. But I don't know exactly what I'm going to take it to do just yet. Cause like I've got the door open in Lockheed. I've got a couple other options as well too. Because like the owner of the company I worked for, he was like, when I told him I was going to be leaving, because I gave him a 2-month notice. I was like, I'm giving you plenty of advance to like find somebody else to replace me. He was like, well, shit, I really wanted you to like run my companies one day and whatnot. And I was like, well, maybe. Sorry, like that. I was like, maybe, once I'm done with everything, because like he owns like 4 different companies. But he does like a one-man show, kind of like you. He isn't. It's just him and then the people that he hires. And so I decided to go back to school. And then now, first summer back, I was like, well, I might as well, because I'm up in Shelton State in Tuscaloosa. And then I'll transfer to UA eventually. Roll Tide, get that in there.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I decided to come back for summer because my family lives out in Destin. So I was like, might as well go back to the beach. One thing I was not prepared for is what some of these women are wearing down now. These women, they're 18, acting like they're 21. Cannot mess with them because like they will mess you up. They will get any kind of lawsuit, but they wear some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. Like you would think that it should not be legal, and it probably shouldn't, because like there are kids out there, but they don't care.
Dang, that's honestly kind of why there's a few reasons I don't really care for the beach. One being the sand. Paris Island ruined sand for me forever.
I don't doubt it.
I hate the beach. I don't like. I'll take my boat out to the sandbar and stuff, and I'll beach it, and then I'll go play in the sand, whatever, lay out. But I get in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and when I get in the boat, I don't have any sand on me. When I go to the beach, I can look at the beach, and sand somehow gets in my truck, and I hate that.
It's the worst. I mean, like I've gotten used to it, working out there so long, and then you eventually just sand's everywhere. Like if you walk out to my car right now, my car is just like in my seats, it's sand, it's just everywhere. You just got to get used to it. But that is one thing that is like the worst, especially like Destin sand, because Destin sand is like so soft and
Powder.
fine. It's like it's everywhere at that point, and so. I do love the beach though, because like I get to go out and surf every day. You can go skimboard, swim, and that's always fun. Like I've always loved doing that. So it's like
Y'all got a lot of shark sightings lately?
there were a lot more earlier this year. I haven't had any since I've been out there. But there were 2 attacks this year, which was like insane because like,
Yeah,
it
I
almost
remember.
never happens because the water's so clear out there. The sharks can see because usually that's like what they always say, it's a misidentification when they attack something. So they think it's something else. But in Destin, it's always such clear water that you almost never have any kind of attack. So to have 2, so quickly back to back, like I was insane. And then I don't want to say I'm a scientist, but right after that, we had like headlines of killer whales out there in the Gulf too. And I was like, that's probably why those sharks were so close inland at that time, because they were staying away from them killer whales, because those whales will
Oh
they
yeah,
will fuck a shark up.
They give them PTSD, bro.
They will fuck a shark up, So I was like, that's probably why they were so close inland, and
They will.
acting
Those
abnormal.
killer whales will put a shark on a T-shirt, bro. I'm telling you.
They don't play around. I mean, like, and hey, they'll mess a human up too if you're in their water. I mean,
Yep.
I'm, like, you see SeaWorld and all that. It's a whole different thing. Like, a
Same
wild killer
shit,
whale
man.
will.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Yeah, so that was crazy. And I mean, like, I've seen some crazy stuff out there. Like, we had one time, we had somebody beach their boat on the sand right there, and we were going over there telling her, hey, you guys got to move your boat. Like, you can't dock your boat on the beach out here. And like we get within like 500 yards of them, or not say 500, like maybe like 200 yards, but all we can hear is just like the screaming, echoing, just bloody murder screaming. And we thought they hit somebody, when they were beaching the boat. But we get up to the boat and you see this lady in the back of it just cut open, intestines everywhere, and they had been out there drinking out there in the water, and she jumped off the back of the boat to go pee, and before she climbed back in it, the guy was drunk and he turned the boat on, propeller sliced her wide open.
Go.
Oh yeah, so like you had to pull her off the beach. We had to bring her up like up the dock or up the boardwalk, and then the ambulance took her from there, took her to like the end of the street, and then they had to life flight her from the end of the street because that's the only place they could land the helicopter at. She ended up passing away of infection like 3 days later.
Yeah, I bet she did. Yeah, jeez.
I was surprised she survived that long because like it was.
I'd rather just
You ever seen the
I'm
movie,
gonna go ahead and go sniff the bottom of this beach right now.
It was like Tropic Thunder, and he's like, I don't know where all this goes. Like it was bad. God have mercy on my soul. But yeah, so like I've seen, and then so like that makes this seem like nothing, in the grand scheme of things. It's like,
well, do you just give everyone the boring old story of what happened there? Or
oh
do you
no,
come
I
up
make
with
things
new
up
stuff?
all the time.
Good.
Like bear
That's
attack.
how I do. Like with this, I mean,
You gotta make something up.
allergies.
'Cause, like,
what? It's allergic to fire.
It was a shark attack once. Had to save a toddler from a shark. Got in a fight with a grizzly bear. All sorts of random stuff.
Yeah.
And
Out in the Gulf, fought a big old polar bear out in the Gulf.
it was me or him.
Yeah.
He took my thumb. I took his eye. My sister's boyfriend.
He bit my thumb off with his eye.
Speaking of which, my sister's boyfriend. He's training for a triathlon himself, and he just recently got into a bike accident, and got into like a head-on collision and broke his arm.
Like motorcycle? Or?
No, like bicycling. And, and I told this dude, like, because
Does
like
that count?
he's a nice guy, but I was like, you got to make something up, dude. Like, you can't be telling everybody I got in a bike accident and broke my arm.
My bicycle got hit by one.
But he was like, it was a funny story because he's like, yeah, dude, I was biking, and some other dude tried to like swerve to like pass somebody else on their bike because he lives in Chicago, and he was like head-on collision, and I was like, I was like, it just doesn't sound cool. He's like, well, the other dude like broke his ribs and like can't breathe anymore. And he's like, I was like, dang, that's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. He's like, yeah, it was his fault. He was like, the guy was gasping for air and trying to apologize at the same time. And I was like, I probably would have been laughing a little bit at him. Sorry, my bad.
So he got hit by, was it
It
another?
was a bike on bike crime, you know.
Okay.
But
Hey,
yeah,
if you say that too fast, it sounds like something else.
sounds a little something different, but no. So like, he was going one way, the other guy was going the other way. He was behind somebody, so he tried to pass into his lane because I guess they have bike lanes out there.
I thought
they collided head
there
on.
was a car trying to go around another bike, and
No. It was another biker, and so I just like I said, though, I was like, you can't be telling people that you got into a bike accident and broke your arm. Like, you got to sound tough because he's a bigger dude too. So I was like, you could pass it off like you got into a bar fight, something, you know, make it sound cool, you know, a little bit. And then my sister was like, who is he gonna be telling that to? And I was like, you don't know this man. You don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, don't worry about it. He's got a YouTube channel.
You never know, but that is definitely one of the things that I have done is, you know, kind of make up some stories. I remember Burst was like telling me that I need to just take my nub, bring it to the unit, and then like slam my thumb in a desk and be like, oh man, service related injury.
It's already like dried up and just like
so new. And I was like, man, wish I would have thought, because like that when it happened, it was drill weekend, like that weekend.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so they were like, "Where's Laird at?" Oh, he's missing half his thumb. He's
looking for his thumb.
he's still at the beach looking around in the sand.
Tattoo that says "Gone to Market."
It was actually kind of crazy. So like whenever it happened, I was like, "Oh, it sucks." Like, you know, nothing crazy like that part. But then there was a PJ out there, because out there in Fort Walton Beach, that's where they're stationed at. That's like their home station. So he was like on like a morning run in the sand with his pack on. So like he was like, oh, okay, hey. So like, he, you know, stopped the bleeding and whatnot, gave him some gauze, wrapped it up, and then I was walking up the boardwalk, and then like within like 2 minutes, the sheriff's department was already there, and he was running down with his own little first aid kit. All the
I got a tourniquet.
all the owners of the condo were on their balconies like horrified. They're like, oh my God, Logan, no. And one lady like went out there and like found my nub and put it in a cooler for me. And got to like
should have put it on backwards.
Yeah, well, I got to the boardwalk, and then the fire department got there pretty quickly too. And then like we had to wait like 15 minutes for the paramedics to get there. And oh yeah, like all the first responders was there except for the paramedics. Like they took so long to get there, and then got there, took me to the hospital. The hospital was like, hey man, so we can't sew you shut today. We're just gonna give you some antibiotics and then come back tomorrow and we'll sew you shut then. Like, well, like this is completely gone. It's still bleeding. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I was like, do you realize like the chance of an infection just shoot up like tremendously? Yeah. Like I could lose my whole hand, if not my arm. Yeah. You know, and they were like, well, the only other thing we can do is life flight you. And I was like, I can't go to like any other hospital in the area? And they're like, no. I was like, okay. So where can I go?
Note
like,
to self, don't lose a thumb in Florida.
Yeah, don't go to Fort Walton Beach Medical Center if you ever have any injury. They are a terrible hospital. Just gonna lay that one out there. Like I've known people that have had the same situation where like they've lost something, and then like due to their treatment, they've lost more because of their treatment. Like,
so what'd you end up doing?
I ended up life flighting. I went to Birmingham. So like they said I could either go to Jacksonville or Birmingham, and my sister lived in Birmingham at the time. So I was like, okay, well I can get life flighted there. She can pick me up, you know, and then I can. Because like I was in beach shorts, shirt, didn't have shoes. I'm in a helicopter with no shoes on, you know, fresh off the beach. And I mean,
did insurance cover that?
Yeah, so like it was under the workman's comp and all that stuff, so I didn't have to pay for anything.
Nice.
But I remember like
run their tab up, boy.
Well, I was like, I'm not, because when I told my employers at the time, I was like, this is what's happening. They were like, yeah, dude, just take the flight. That doesn't sound like a safe medical practice to send you home right now. Yeah. And I was like, cool, glad we're on the same page with this. And I remember like when I got to the hospital there, because two of us got life flight at the same time to Birmingham from the same place. Should tell you how their hospital must be running. Two of us had to leave. And so like they were both helicopters landed at the same time. They flew in formation to Birmingham. They were in like more serious condition than me, so like they landed first and whatnot, and we just kind of held pattern for a minute. And I remember when I was in their operating room, like the plastic surgeon comes in, he's like, so what's going on? And I showed him, and he's like, do you really need to come here for this? And I was like, told him the story. He was like, oh yeah, no, what the fuck? He was like, yeah, no, good thing you came here. And they had to like saw some of the bone back down and then
draped it over.
Yeah,
cover it.
cover
Yep.
it, and then sewed it shut and whatnot. I mean, I was awake the whole time. They gave me tons of
Local
payments.
anesthesia.
Yeah. Oh no, I was off. I was off the Dilaudid for sure.
Zooted, boy.
Dude, I mean, but at that point it had been like maybe like 13, 14 hours since like the injury. So like I hadn't eaten anything at all that day. Only thing I had in my system was pain meds. And when I first stood up, dude, I mean, right
I
back
bet
down.
so.
And I remember my mom actually got there at that time, and so like she was gonna give me a ride back to Destin, and I couldn't walk. And so like she had to like lean me against like the parking garage wall, and I like was like sitting there, and I was like, I look like the most drugged out homeless person right now, like
Yeah.
so
Well,
out
at
of
least
place.
your hair was short at the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, this flow now, you know, it's once we get out of the Marine Corps, it's like, what do you do when you get out of a toxic relationship? You grow your hair out. You know, you do something different with your hair. So I was like,
So
let me
you
just.
ain't cut it since you got out?
I've cut it like a couple times, like just trimmed it up, but I haven't cut it now for like almost a year.
Yeah.
Actually, over a year now.
I'll see how long this lasts, because I had it pretty long at one point. I think Cody remembers. It got to the point where it was like, I mean, I couldn't put, Mallory was putting in a ponytail, but like it was nowhere near that long. But the annoying part was right here,
Yes.
because it wasn't long enough to put everything back, and it was just drangling right there, which I wear hats almost always now anyway. So I was like, well, might as well just, and we're usually it would be going into summer where but this, I got a haircut probably a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So I got the haircut, and now I'm like, by the time I'm getting out of summer, I'll be going into the winter, and I could probably handle it then. But
Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll grow it out, but for now it's just like I've always had thick hair, so I was like, let me just let it go because this is the longest I've been in my life, you know. Because I mean,
I feel like
before
you got to do it
before I
at
joined the
least
Marine
once
Corps,
before you end up like him.
trust me, my dad's bald as shit, so it's like I'm letting it go as long as I can. And I mean, before I got in the Marine Corps, my hair was longer, but it wasn't like anywhere near what it is now.
Yeah.
I remember like whenever they cut it then, you know, at boot camp, I was like, oh my god, there goes my last little piece of humanity.
Yeah.
But and then I had a beard for a while too. I had a little bushy thing too. I mean, like I was looking full, just
Homeless.
homeless dude. This dude's no.
You
There's
just
no
come
way.
back from Vietnam.
Exactly. I mean, I did everything that the Marine Corps told me I couldn't do. I was like, I'm gonna do that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. You're a 18-year-old kid moving out of your parents' house, be like,
I can stay out till midnight. Yeah.
I can do what I want. They're not gonna piss test me anymore. But
that's
it's been a wild ride since then. But I like, you know, it's that Stockholm syndrome though. You still miss it every now
I
and then.
miss the guys, and I miss our old unit. Like I went. So you remember Pillow?
No.
He was in the boat locker. But Pillow's called me now twice to get them out of a bind, because they got, so the safety boat that they had,
Mm-hmm.
they got a new one in, and they needed help unloading it, and then they finally sent the old one out about a month ago. They finally sent the old one out, and they needed help loading it. Except first time he called me, it was during the day. I showed up, you know, it was fine. This last time he called me, it was around midnight. Well, like 12:30. Oh, excuse me. He called me around midnight, and I remember hearing my phone buzz, and I was like, what? I was like, why is Pillow calling me at midnight? He's like, dude, I know you're probably tired, and you got work tomorrow, and you've got a kid. I get that. I'm sorry. I tried to not call you, but he said, we need a chainsaw. he's like, we don't, because what it was, they loaded the trailer up on a lowboy, and they had to put blocking up under it. It was 8x8s, or maybe even 12x12s. I don't know, but it was blocking, and it was, let's say, 12 foot long. Well, it was sticking out past the trailer, you know, 4 foot, whatever it was, sticking out past the trailer, and they needed to cut it off flush so that they could drive down the road. And, well, it's midnight. No stores are open. none of them have a chainsaw. Like the only thing he knew to do was call me because I was the only one in town with the chainsaw. So I went up there, and he'll have to correct me if I misunderstood it, but the Marine Corps is doing things a little different now. So they're supposed to be getting a craft unit. So kind of how Navy has SWIC.
Yeah.
It's, from what I understand, it's a similar thing. Like they're kind of, you know how they got the HIMARS and all the transitions that went on there.
Yeah.
This is a kind of similar thing, but in the boats.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly where their unit was, but they're like, hey, we're going to get you a challenge coin, a flag, and I think it was like some shorts or something like that. Just some unit stuff, and and a case of beer. I was like, all right, that's worth it. I woke up, but I got home. It was like almost 3:00 in the morning. So, and then we got up we had a job next day.
Yeah. Get back up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Get back to work.
Luckily now I don't get up till between 6 and 6:30, just depending. But usually I'm up by 6:15. Whenever I did cabinets, I was up at 4 every morning, just wanting to.
Yeah, it's a different life whenever you're working blue collar, working your own trade.
Oh yeah, well, and now like him and my other guy, I'm like, hey, be here at 7 because there ain't no sense in leaving here before 7, usually, because if we get, even if it's in the city and the sound, oh Lord, excuse me, you get in the city, and even though the sound ordinance I think lifts at 6 or 7. Still don't want to be that guy that's just wham first thing in the morning. So we normally get to a job site by around 8, and that gives, during the winter it's good because it gives it time to warm up a little bit. During the summer it kind of sucks because ideally I'd love to start at 5, and because most of the time, depending on the job, most of the time we can remove a tree in about 2 to 3 hours, like a average size oak tree, we can have everything processed in about 3 hours. So yeah, I mean, if you start at 5:30, before it even gets hot, you can be done.
Yeah.
But that ain't always, I mean, you
running a chainsaw at 5:30 in the morning, you're gonna piss somebody off.
No, I ain't. And honestly, with like Hayes, he wakes up at 7, so I get up right before he gets up. They get here, they set everything up. As you can tell, I'm tired, bro.
Oh no, I hear you.
I didn't have any go-go juice this morning.
I had to have mine, but like that's I mean the same thing with like doing beach services. Like it takes about 2 hours to set up every day, and like if you could start at 5 a.m., you could be done by 7. You know, but with that, they have like there's a bunch of ordinance for sea turtles and all that stuff. So like you gotta protect the sea turtles, and I get it. Trust me, like I'm 100% about it. It's like you can't start before 7 o'clock because they have turtle patrol that literally drives the beaches all night and just looks for sea turtles nesting, and then they'll mark out the nest out there to make sure that nobody disturbs it.
They normally do it at night, don't they?
The turtles will nest at night, and then they'll hatch usually early in the mornings or whatnot. So like they'll patrol to make sure there's no turtles nesting. If they do see a nest being nested, they'll let them do their thing, and then once the turtle goes back to the water, they'll like rope off the area so that nobody disturbs it. And because like out there in Destin, they have these big tractors that actually rake the sand. So like if they didn't have those marked out, they'd run over the nest and kill all the babies and whatnot. And then like once the nests start hatching, they'll kind of form a perimeter around it. They won't like interfere with the turtles, like the babies going out, but they won't let people interfere with it as well. So like, it's mainly just to like, let nature do its thing. Yeah. But at the same time,
shoot birds off and
like they won't shoot the birds off. Like if birds get them, but they won't let people, because people tourists will be like, look at the squishy. Yeah, like they will interfere, and so like it's kind of keeping the humans out of it and letting nature run its course kind of deal. But I've if I could, I would have started so early in the morning because like it gets hot quickly out there. Same kind of thing, and like because I know dudes that like heat cases like just pass out, and I'm not some doc, so like I can't give you a silver bullet take your core temperature and cool you off. It's just
Old
like
check.
just drag them up to the box, leave them there, give them some water, and they'll recover. If they don't, then I mean, just go to the hospital, buddy. Get an IV. I mean, that's about all you can really do.
Yep.
Because I mean, dehydration it's brutal out there.
We try to get ahead of it. We have liquid IVs and stuff that we.
Gotta have some sort of electrolyte replenishment.
Yep.
And that's like one of the brutal things about working outside, though, is just how much it takes out of you. I mean, Marine or not, it'll get you for sure. And then it's like I think we were at Shelby that one year. We were doing that range, and it was like we just kept on stripping gear because it was so damn hot out there, and like we even had like recon guys falling out.
Yeah. Because I remember that we had like 8 heat cases that day.
Yeah.
And
I remember like when we got back on the bus, one of the recon guys was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was seeing stars." I was like, it was hot.
I remember Tillman heat case. That was one of the first things I heard about, and that was the one that I don't know why, but I wasn't there, and I'm glad I wasn't there.
It was pretty hot. It was actually that was a time that
was it the one after, like, was it in 2020?
It was probably in 2020. It was somewhere in there. It was just like a regular drill weekend where like we were just shooting to shoot almost, because I mean like we weren't doing like a table or anything.
Because I know I wasn't there, and I may have been at a school at that point. Because
you might have been. You might have been at CMT at that time.
I think so.
Because I don't remember you being a CMT then. So that's probably where you were at, because this was actually whenever Chris was underneath his suicide watch, because like we couldn't let him do anything. Like even though like we knew it was kind of bull, but like at the same time like we couldn't take any chances. So, like he just had to sit there, and like someone had to sit with him at all times. And like I remember one night I had to sit there with like a red flashlight and just look at him. He just like he wouldn't sleep either, so like we just sit there and talk the whole night.
Yeah.
But like during the range though, like they had to take him, and then we just had to sit there with him. But
bring him to the range.
What?
Said just bring him to the range.
Yeah, bring him to the range. Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Just babysit him.
Live rounds.
I remember, I think that was either before or I can't remember if it was before or after the AT that we went out to Shelby and like we did the gas chamber and whatnot. That one sucked. Remember we did the gas. Were you there for that? We did the gas chamber, then we had to hike immediately right afterwards. That was not a lot of fun. I can't remember who it was. It was one of the S3 guys that wanted us to like wear the masks while we hiked. I was like,
it was God. Campbell.
Yeah, I was like, thank God we didn't do that. Didn't he fall out?
Don't remember.
No, there was a radio guy that was like talking about how he was like fresh out of the fleet, and he was talking about how hard he was and how he was going to be like inserted into the teams and from comm, and he like fell out.
All those comm guys, like there was great comm guys there, but then there was other dudes that would show up. They'd be 0621s, and they would just focus hard on that 21 part, and they just think they're recon. I'm like, bro,
he wasn't even a 21 yet. He was just fresh out of the fleet from comm. Like he was like an actual, like he was a corporal at the time, and I remember that because he was talking. I remember because like in the one he was just talking so much like shit. He was like, this is what I'm here for. Like I'm gonna join the team, blah, 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 blah. And then like we went out there, did that gas range or did the gas chamber, then we went on the hike, and then I remember just like watching him come from the front, just slowly drift to the back, and I was like, all right, big guy. I was like, you get out there and you do it. Like turned out like he was hiking with plates in and everything, and we're like, what are you doing, dude? Like they literally specifically said, don't put your plates in.
Yeah.
Because it's like 110 degrees out here in the middle of Mississippi.
What are you proving here?
Like, yeah, I was like, that just, you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Somebody had to do it.
I remember that was like the first weekend that, what's his name? McCall was out there, and he was so excited because like we were gonna practice that room clearance stuff and whatnot, and that dude was so gung ho about it because that was the first time he'd been like outside of an admin shop in his entire Marine Corps career.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beautiful things. We have that. We actually like one of the few times we took a platoon or like a company photo. We had a company photo out there. I still have that too. It's very terrible quality, but it's a memory.
Yeah.
And that's for dang sure. But it's something that I look back on with some fond memories. Every now and then I run into some of the guys out. Like, you remember Dalphone?
Yeah.
Dalphone? Yeah, he's out there in Destiny. He's working as a deckhand.
On Destiny?
Yep, Destiny. So, like, every now and then I'll be at a bar, like, down there, and I'll run into him. He's still got that crazy mustache going on.
Oh, yeah. Mustachio Supreme.
Hey, he can rock it. Like there's some guys
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that you get that little
But he
lip hair.
grows that insanely thick mustache. Like mine grows, there's my line. His starts like above his nose line and just thick mustache. I'm like, dude, I'm jealous.
He's got that like wired up like curl into it.
Yeah,
and
like
everything.
if I had a mustache like his, I probably wouldn't have a beard.
Oh, I mean, same here. I mean, like it's a beautiful thing. It really is. But every now I need to go out there fishing with him sometimes. I know you said that you got your brother-in-law, cousin.
Yeah, my cousin, he's got a Charger. But the thing is, everyone around here, like I had a guy work for me that he worked for me during the winter on the off season.
Yeah.
And he's a captain on the charter boat. Like so I guess living this close to the water and all that, there's always
it fishers everywhere.
Yeah, you can if you want to go fishing but you don't, it's your fault.
Yeah, no, like especially like being out in Dustin, like that's literally like when I first moved there, because like down here, like you said, like there's a lot of fishers, but like over there, it's like everyone just like, oh man, you go fishing. It's like, oh yeah, man, I used to go fish with my grandpappy. We go catfishing.
No man, we gotta go catch marlin.
No, yeah, they're like, no man, we got to get out there in the deep sea, get these 200-pound fish in. I'm like, yeah, dude, that would take me into the water. Like, oh no, man, you just buckle in. I'm like, what, man?
Yeah, strap in.
Because like I remember there was one year I was doing beach service. And I had a bunch of these old guys come out, and they're like, "Hey, man, like we know we see you got these kayaks and whatnot. We're a little bit too old now, like so, like we can't use them." He was like, "But hey, we'll give you $100 per bait if you'll kayak out to the past second sandbar, toss these big old chunks of fish in, and for our lines, and let our shark fish out here after the beach closes." And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And the first time I went out there, I like went to go toss the bait. I mean, they were like fish heads. I mean, like they're pretty dang big pieces of bait, and the hooks, I mean, like big old hooks. I remember
Anchors.
I went to go toss it in, and I tossed it, and of course I tipped over into the water, and I was like, oh man, panic set in because all I could hear was just the Jaws theme music going in the background. And I was like, get the fuck back in the kayak. And I got back in, and I paddled back in. They were like, that looked a little close out there, and I was like, yeah, man, I wasn't trying to wait around and see if anything was gonna try to snatch me up too, but. They caught a bull shark that night, and then I think they caught a tiger shark as well. I mean, there's some nasty sharks out there.
Yeah.
Because I think just this year they had a great white wash up in Navarre.
I remember. I remember
caught
seeing
one out
about
there
that.
in Navarre, but like they had one just wash up, and that was a big shark too. I mean, like it was
like a 12-footer.
I don't know how big it was. I mean, like the pictures of it looked massive. Because like there was one year I was out there in the morning, and I had like a 10 to 12 foot hammerhead just right off the like swimming around in like the knee deep water out there eating fish in the morning. Hammerheads aren't that vicious, like so like it wasn't like terrifying, and nobody really messing with it. Nobody was in the water, but I mean like that was the first time I've ever seen that massive of a shark up close before. Like it's one thing when you go to an aquarium and you see them from like inside, because that glass like kind of defers to like how big they are, and you can't really keep that big of a shark in an aquarium, I wouldn't think, but like that thing is massive. Like you don't think about how big that is until you see it. And you're like,
girthy things.
They're long, they're girthy, their tail alone, like his tail fin was like sticking at least like 2 feet out of the water, because I mean like it's such a huge creature, and it's like you just don't ever think about it till you see it, and you're like, that's just pure muscle. Like if it was mad at me and I was in the water, I mean,
it
like,
would win.
No chance. I mean, not that it would like, not even just like the bite size, but like just the power behind it. Like if he like smacked me with his tail, like it'd knock you out instantly. Like you'd break something, you'd be bruised. I mean, like those things are massive creatures, heavy, and just wow. I mean, like because like they're sharks, and like you look at bears, like you see like a black bear and you're like, oh okay, I could take a black bear if you had a knife, like you could wrestle it. It's gonna fuck you up, but like you stand a chance against a black bear. It's like, but you get in the water with a shark, yeah dude, no.
Well, you're out of your element. Move in the water as it is.
Yeah, you're out of your element. Like you're in his
now,
zone.
If a shark shows up on my front door, I'm whooping his ass. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no chance, bro. Yeah, good luck. But because like I know some dudes that like think they can take like grizzly bears and that kind of thing. I'm like, nah, not. I can never take a grizzly bear.
What they say about bears? If it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. Um, if it's white, you're screwed. I don't know. I don't know how the saying goes.
I think I've seen that, but yeah, like the black bear you could probably take, but like yeah, have you seen that video like the grizzly bears fighting?
Yeah. Oh,
Of like those two to just go at it for like 15 minutes, man.
it
You
just
can see
looked
the
like Mike Tyson fighting Mike Tyson.
well, I mean, like that was like one of the most brutal videos I've ever seen of just like nature, because like you can see the blood like coming from their mouths and that kind of thing. I mean, like they're just going at it, and that's when I was like, yeah, I would never, like, you stand no chance against a grizzly bear,
No.
because I think,
Well, their paws are like the size of these lights.
well, like that's yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's that story like with the K bars, and they say like like they killed a grizzly bear at the K bar. Like I can't imagine
You're
killing.
gonna be lucky.
Well, like what's that movie Revenant or something like that?
I ain't
Leo
seen it.
DiCaprio, he like fights the grizzly bear in that or something like that, I think. But like I couldn't imagine like being face to face, because like you'll see stories of that, like some dude like came face to face with one, they attacked him and he survived. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do
He
you
poked him with a
survive?
stick.
Like how it's like if I ever go anywhere like hiking, like I'm at least carrying a pistol. Like not that it's gonna do shit against a grizzly bear, but like I'm carrying
if you
something.
got good aim, that it can,
Aim for the head.
depending on what. Yeah. Carry 44 Magnum, boy.
I mean, you gotta carry something, because like nature's a scary motherfucker. Like in true reality, like,
Damn, nature, you scary.
well, like I've gone hunting out in Texas with my dad and whatnot, and my dad's something else. Like he's hunted for a long time, and like and seen bobcats and that kind of stuff and mountain lions. Like my dad, he just went on a trip to Africa and went hunting out there on like a safari hunt. And I remember like at first I was like, oh, that's cool, that'd be awesome. It was kind of badass, because he started posting on Facebook like some pictures, and this dude was out there bow hunting wildebeest, in the middle of Africa. And I was like, because like he posted like the picture with the bow and everything. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing out here being Tarzan? And I was like, I was like, you're just showing me up. I was like, I've got to like show you up now whenever I have a kid, because I can't be like, look at your granddaddy, look at me. So I was like, I got to go like spearfishing great whites or something now, because it's like this dude's out here hunting lion.
I vote like bring a slingshot to the North Pole and take you out a polar bear.
Take out a polar bear. I mean that'd be something. Like that's
and
what I'm saying.
But you pose up with your slingshot, and then you're like, there's a little slingshot. You just kind of pull it back. There's a big dead polar bear.
I mean, I was thinking that, or like maybe like a spear hunting like a tiger, something like that, or like a wolf, go King Leonidas style with it. Something. I was like, but like I don't know how to top that. Like being out in the middle of the Sahara, or being out in the desert, and having nothing but a bow with you, and thinking that you'll be all right. Like he's a good bow shot. Like he's been bow hunting for years now, but like I never expected him to take, because I figured he'd go out there with like a pretty big size rifle and do his shooting.
He's doing it for the adrenaline for sure.
And the experience alone, it's pretty cool. Like the experience that he was telling about, he's like, because they have like guides out there and whatnot. Because it was South Africa, so he was like, it's like I think it was like Dutch and German mostly is what they spoke out there, and like they spoke like their natural African language. I don't know what it's called.
White Africans.
Well, the white and the black Africans. It's like, but the white Africans.
So Maturi wasn't there.
Maturi wasn't there, or he might have been there. I don't know, but he was like, the people that owned everything were white, and then everybody that worked out there was black essentially. And I was like, I feel like that's like a real tense place. And he's like, dude, they're just chilling. He was like, they could give a care less about anything else. He's like, some of them will speak Dutch, some speak German. He's like, and then they speak like some language. It's like a mixture between German and like their natural, like their original African language. I can't remember the name of it, but he was like they'll take you out there, and then you make a kill. They'll take it back, dress it. They'll cook it for you that night. They do everything.
And
they haul it
pack
for you.
The rest up.
And then they'll get all the trophies for you and send it off and whatnot. But he still hasn't gotten his trophies yet, because it's got to like clear customs and all that.
Yeah.
And he was like,
I bet them's ain't cheap. Them trips.
Not at all. I can't even imagine. Because like me and him, we've gone to Vegas now 2 years in a row. Like he's well off, and like we go to a music festival out there. It's a metal music festival, Sick New World. It's a freaking stellar time.
Sick New World?
Sick New World.
Oh, Sick New World.
Yeah, Sick New World.
I thought it was like a play on Disney World. Like, Sick New World.
But no, it's actually a great time. Like last year, we saw System of a Down, Korn, Incubus, a bunch of cool bands. This year, we saw Slipknot, and a lot of smaller bands, but that's what most people would probably like. Oh, I know those guys. Yeah, those are cool dudes. My dad's done a lot of weird stuff. So like he used to live in a neighborhood, and they did have like a lot of possums and whatnot. And he's kind of one of those early risers. He'd get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning every day and work out, and go for a run.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's it's like they have like that neighborhood watch thing kind of deal. Like, I can't remember what it's like, some app on their phone.
Yeah.
And everybody has like those Ring doorbells nowadays. And one day he was out for his morning run at like 4:15 in the morning, and he started like there's a possum out there digging up in their yard, and so he starts chasing this possum around at 4:15 in the morning around the neighborhood, and people start freaking out because they see this 6'2", 200-pound man, you know, in the pitch black darkness of Texas running around in yards trying to catch this possum, and like he's popping up on rings next door.
It's my cat right here.
People are like, hey everybody, someone's like trying to like he's running around by windows and gardens and like look out, and someone's like, oh, that's just Todd chasing the armadillos. And
armadillos
like,
keep digging little holes.
Because like he's just that kind of guy. My dad he's real outdoorsy. He's from Louisiana, Cajun.
What your dad do in the Marines?
He was an air traffic control technician.
Gotcha.
I remember when I first talked to him about it because he served during the Gulf Wars, and I was like, "Hey, Dad," I was like, "What all did you do?" And he was like, "Well, I was an air traffic control technician. Served during the Gulf Wars. Sometimes they made me go outside and sweep. I don't like to talk about that though." I was like, "My bad, man. Didn't mean to bring up some harsh memories there." And I first thought he was joking because I was like 16 at the time, 17, and then I joined the Marine Corps, and I was like, "Nope, he went outside and swept. That is what he did."
Dad didn't do shit.
Because well, like my grandfather, he served in Vietnam, and that dude, he's a tough son of a bitch. I'm not even gonna lie. Like he graduated high school, volunteered, joined the Marine Corps. You know, enlisted, went to Vietnam, got 2 Purple Hearts, took a bungee stake to the foot, got shrapnel from artillery in him, still has metal in him to this day. Like, refuses to walk around with a cane, Agent Orange, you know, sleep apnea, all that shit. Tough son of a bitch. Like, I would not. There are a few things that I would fuck with. My grandfather was not one of them, even to this day. Like, yeah. I know he's old now, but he'd give me hell.
Just fart in his CPAP machine. See how that goes.
I couldn't even do that to him. That man would wake up. I mean, he'd be back in Vietnam, and next thing you know, I'm getting strangled.
Yeah, I'm getting a K-bar.
He's got some crazy stories. Like he was telling me one time, like they're in a firefight out there in the middle of the night. You know, so he's like, you can just see bullets flying overhead, and then like out of nowhere, this like 7-8-year-old kid just jumps in their foxhole, and he was like, they thought that because like back then they would send kids like that with grenades into the foxhole, and then they'd blow up. You know, kill everybody. They thought that's what's happening, but nope. He was just a random kid in the middle of a battle, in the wrong place, and they nicknamed him Batman. Took him back to base, and you know he lived in the base with them for about like a year. But just a kid, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, lost, didn't know where his family was. You know, crazy things. And then my great grandfather served in World War II in the Philippines. So like my grandfather's still has his Japanese swords and whatnot.
Dang, that's
he has his
cool.
Original Marine Corps like uniform, like the old greenie.
Yeah,
he's got that thing still. You know, so one day I'll have it, but it's there's a lot of history. You know,
mine's in that closet right there, hanging up on that door. I got my blues.
I still got all my stuff too. It just sits in the closet nowadays. You know, I'm like, man, if I ever had to put that thing back on, it'd probably be a really bad time to be be one of us because. I know we still had like 2 years on our contracts. I mean, I didn't know how they were going to do that. Because at first whenever they rescinded the order for the vaccine and whatnot, I was like, are they going to call us back?
Like, hey, just kidding. Come finish
on back. Because I didn't know how that was going to work for a little bit, you know. And at first I was like, would I even put up a fight? Would I do it? And I guess, but at the same time, my contract was technically almost over. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
but like I'd seen on the news where like some people were getting like, were called back and like, hey, just kidding. But like at the same time, like even now, I mean, the military's still hurting with.
Oh yeah, retention is just, but it's gotten so political and so.
Yeah, speaking of politics, imagine the time we're at right now.
Yep. But I was watching the RNC the other day, and it's not the same as after 9/11, but I hadn't seen America get united like that since 9/11.
You know, I will say I actually watched his first speech at the RNC just the other night, and it was a lot more tame than usual.
His whole demeanor's kind of changed.
I mean, but it's to be expected. I mean,
but here's kind of, I can go on a whole rabbit trail on that, but it was, what's aggravating me is all these people that are keyboard warriors. They're fat. They don't know anything about anything, but they're experts on what happened there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this should have been done like this. Why everything's a conspiracy? Everything and I get that it's not what face value is. Like, it's not. I don't think it was just some random kid that just went and just happened to squeeze all that out. Something leaked. He had help.
Oh yeah.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know what happened and who did it and how. I don't know all that.
No.
And another argument I've heard since Vance was, which Semper Fi, but since Vance was announced as VP and he used to oppose Trump. He hadn't always been Trump's biggest fan. And all these geniuses are just like, he just said he likes Trump to get the VP spot. They just start saying just absurdity. I'm like, first off, do you think that Trump doesn't have enough people backing him to pick a yes man?
Yeah. Like,
you really think that he's struggling to find a VP? The fact that he was able to turn somebody, and here's the thing, I've heard of a lot of people that used to hate Trump or just not like him, not necessarily hate. They used to not like Trump, and they would tell you that the reason they didn't like him is because of what the media told them about him.
Mm-hmm.
Once they got to know him, once they dug deeper, they found out, oh, wait, he's not this person that the media is portraying him to be. So that's what was like, it's been super aggravating because everybody has their well, this happened or he's just
it is crazy right now because it's like what happened is obviously horrific. Like, it's terrible. Like, it should not have happened.
Quarter inch away from civil war is what we were.
But at the same, oh yeah, no doubt. But with it saying, it's like right now the biggest debate isn't how did we get here, like with the media like portraying and saying all this crazy stuff.
Yep.
It's just happened for a while now, which it's just not true. And even if he tried to do that, it would not go through. Like, if he tried to, like, people like, oh, he's threat to democracy, he wants to be a dictator, would not happen. Too many good old boys would not let that happen. Yeah. But like, the biggest debate right now isn't how did we get here. Is the Secret Service, was the government in on it, or is the Secret Service just that incompetent to where they let that happen?
Where it's official news, not just like Reddit posts.
Oh yeah, no, where he's had like the OC's accounts and whatnot.
The Secret Service, they weren't the top-notch Secret Service that it should have been. Like, it was just people brought in, basically, kind of last
government
minute.
Contractors.
Hey, we got Firewatch duty. Go get on Firewatch duty. As the way I imagine it went.
Well, I mean, like, even there's so much that's coming out now that, like, now that we have to, like, they have to look into it, with, like, the Iranian plot to, like, assassinate him, which is, like, they're like, oh, yeah, we've noticed about 2 weeks now, like, before the attempt even happened, and not saying that that's what the kid was doing, but, like, I saw where he had 2 encrypted phones, he had overseas accounts where he was communicating, I don't know who he's communicating with, nobody knows, still a lot more to, like, figure out. One, it's crazy that the kid missed, because, like, 150 yards, that's
for a kid. And here's the thing, 150 yards for moss, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you ever been hunting, like deer hunting, and a buck walks out on you and you're shitting your pants because you're like, holy crap, nervous. You get buck fever. You're about to shoot a president.
Yeah.
And the only reason you miss is not because your dope card was wrong. It's because
he moved last second. Yeah.
Happened to have a slideshow that he looked at, and you weren't anticipating him looking at that slideshow. That is why you missed, not because you pulled your shot.
Yeah.
That is wild.
It is. It's crazy.
And for a 20-year-old kid.
Well, and that's what's also like crazy about some people like, oh, it's staged. And I was like, it's stage. And like, you see that online. I'm like, dude, you would have to be the most perfect shot in the world to be able to hit his ear, to like miss the shot on purpose.
You like, And people were saying he had like a ketchup packet, basically, fake blood, and he went, I was like, oh, that's right. And then the people that actually received the bullets behind him, the two that were in critical condition, the one guy that died, that was what I guess Trump going, all right, now die, wink, wink. Now's your turn.
I've seen the video where you just see him get popped and just drop. You can see the one angle where you can see the ear get hit.
You can see the one where it's like the bullet, like they captured it just right, and the bullet was behind him.
Well, someone has the angle like from that's like behind him already, so like whenever he's looking, the bullet actually you can see where it hits his ear, and then like you can see where it opens up.
Yeah.
And then like I seen the angle where you can see the guy in the stands just instantly
that one.
Yeah, he domed for sure.
Yeah, it canoed him. But it's just
most people don't know what that actually is, right?
Well, if you're watching this podcast,
if you know, you know.
But the problem is, and Vance said this at RNC, the problem is, way back when, it was Democrats and Republicans, they all kind of wanted the same thing, or they were at least in the same book, if not on the same page. They had a different way of getting there, but they wanted the same thing. They wanted America to do good, and they wanted to take care of people. Some wanted to go through welfare, some wanted to go through, heavy capitalism, whatever. They had their own. Look at JFK. He was a Democrat. There was plenty of Democrats that did good. But now, and I'm not saying every Republican is good right now either. There's plenty of, crap Republicans. But it has literally turned into, I feel like this election is good versus evil. That's
how a lot of people see it, for sure.
It's not, and the people that, it just shows, honestly, it's sad because it just shows the ignorance of this country. Well, Trump's just doing that to get power. Trump's just doing this to get fame. Trump's just doing this to... The dude lost money after he's assumed office. You think he needs this? I don't have a fraction, a decimal of the money that he's got. If I had $10 million, I can make enough money for me for the rest of my life to where I don't have to work. I'd get property. I'd do what I got to do to take care of me. If I was a multi-billionaire, if I was one of the richest men in the world, and I was 78 years old, you think I'd be out there putting myself in the most uncomfortable situations, getting shot at? Don't you think I'd rather be out playing golf, chilling on my yacht, just living out the last however many years you got? So, yeah, you're right. You're such a genius to figure out that Trump in his lifetime has not accomplished enough. Now he has to come back to basically come out of retirement to try to rescue America so that your ignorant ass can have that opinion. Because guess what? That opinion is at stake. You're about to lose your whole, the ability to have your own opinion. You're about to lose the ability to be ignorant like that.
Yeah. No.
And he's the one fighting for you to have that. And that's what fires me up, is just people are like, oh, well, media said this. And people just roll with whatever the internet says.
And that's, it is a crazy time to be, alive. And that's kind of one thing that, if it can continue, with the calls for unity and, hey, guys, let's walk this back. Cause we all need to walk it back a little bit. And hopefully that could continue, because it's it has become so divisive these days, and it sucks, because it's you don't ever want to sit here and look across the street and be like, I don't like that guy, he's my enemy, even though we're all American citizens. Yep. It's because at the end of the day, that's the whole belief. It's whenever you initially join the military, or try to serve your country, it's because you bought into that belief that's hey, we have freedoms, we need to keep these freedoms. And so it's to sit here and have people say oh, you're you are the enemy to our nation because you support this person, or you support that person. It's it's just crazy talk to hear, and it's we shouldn't be there as a nation. And so it's hopefully, if anything, it can be a somber moment to just be hey guys, we gotta calm it the hell down, because it's out of control.
We need to figure this out. We need to get our priorities straight. We need to figure out, we need to remember that human life is human life.
Exactly.
And I mean, and this isn't just I'm all, up in arms for Trump. It's not that. Poor Biden. Like, I feel bad for the dude.
I feel bad for him too, because it's like he's
He
definitely
don't,
he's
like,
getting propped up, and
I
people.
honestly don't think he knows. I think he's so delusional at this point that, like, even him refusing to step down, I think he's just so in. And this is just my opinion. This is Sam's opinion. This is not backed by anything. But I'm like, just based on what I see, he's so stuck in that rut of, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, and he's got a few drops of his own thoughts in there, but everything else is just, a thought behind those eyes, bro.
Yeah, no, I feel bad for him too, because like I don't think he's a bad person, but I definitely think like his
I don't
family.
think he's a good person, but
I mean, what I'm saying is like I think his family is the ones that really try to keep him in there.
yeah.
That
Oh,
it's like
I told Cody that, yesterday, I was like, I believe Jill is a necrophiliac. She's married to a corpse.
I mean, I try not to speculate too much on it, but I definitely think his family's the reason why he stays in, because I think they're just like, you can't drop out, because even now, like when all the Democrats are saying like, Joe, drop out, he's like,
Yeah.
no,
Which
puts
I don't know
them
if
in
you
a tough
saw,
spot too.
He's supposed to be stepping down like within the next, but he's not endorsing camel toe Harris either.
I don't know what's gonna happen, because it puts the Democratic Party in a really, really vulnerable state, because it's like if you're gonna have to prop somebody else up within to try to win an election in 4 months. It's probably the first time, I don't know if it's ever happened before, where presidents had to step down, and not run for re-election in their second term because of
I don't know.
mental stability. And so it's like
He should have never been in there in the first place. And I'm not, like, I don't jump on every conspiracy theory and roll with it, but I will tell you this. If you believe, this is Sam's opinion, if you believe that election was fair, you're living in La La Land. Because to watch how, first off, when have we ever went past midnight to count votes?
I mean, only a couple times, but I mean, it would not until the next day.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When have we went into, oh, he needs 40,000 more votes? Okay, magically, we found this box of votes that must have got left in the back of the truck. Oh, turns out every single one of them was all Biden. Not one extra one for Trump. And that's where I'm like, if you're going to rig it, think it through. Don't make it so sloppy and so obvious. And especially when you're giving us the data.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember that chart where it was like Trump was winning? Or like you got Trump and you got Biden. And then it literally just went whoop, straight up, just to the moon, and then shot. Oh! And it just so happened to be in a swing state.
Well, even some of the margins were just insane. Like, I mean, like I think Biden won Georgia by 0.24%, a quarter of a point, which is like, that's insanely close.
Yeah.
I mean,
conveniently enough after midnight.
And because that is like the one crazy thing about it, because like we all went to bed thinking, okay, Trump won again, like, shocker.
It was was it Wisconsin?
There
was another, it was some northern state that, the one that I was talking about, that chart, or was it Pennsylvania?
I don't think it was Pennsylvania. I think it might have been Michigan.
I think it was Michigan. It was one
Michigan, Georgia,
up there to where it just. I
Nevada.
know Georgia was one of the main ones, and they were really waiting on Atlanta. But it was. I remember seeing that, and I was like, I remember watching that, going, "There's no way that no one's gonna go." Really, like it's. Whenever I'm not saying I never did this, but when you cheat on a test and like you got the answer key to the test.
Yeah.
And the teacher knows if you're paying attention in class or if you're slacking off. And whenever you go and you answer every question correctly, even though she didn't see you have an answer sheet, she knows you cheated.
Yeah,
there's
can't prove it.
You slept through every class she ever done, every lecture. You slept through. Hell, you weren't even there for half of them, but you just magically, which, yeah, maybe you would, maybe you could be going home and studying and doing all that, but when does that happen? Never. That's not how that works. So I'm like, at least don't insult our intelligence. Like, I'd almost respect you coming out and say, yeah, we stole that shit and we got away with it.
I mean, well, like that's the thing too is that, like there's been election fraud since elections ever existed. Like, and that's for goes for everywhere. I mean, and you get people get caught all the time at the local level. That
Yeah.
we're getting elections and that kind of thing. So it's like it's not something that's like outlandish to like some people will make you tend to believe. And I'm not saying that that's the only election ever that's had
Oh,
election fraud or interference or anything like that. But it's like I don't,
look at
that was the
Russia.
most egregious. I would
Yeah.
say that's like it can get it's a
It
little
was
shocking.
it was almost embarrassing because there
Yes.
was dead people voting
Dead people voting, a bigger turnout than the
than the
2016 and
population.
2000. Yeah, like the shotgun was a bigger turnout that like we've ever had in years. Yet this was like a time people were a scared to go out.
Yeah.
B mail-in ballots were not as simple as like they make it out to be. Like
Mm-mm.
it takes it's a process. I mean, because like
Yep.
whenever you're in the military, you have to register to be able to mail in ballots because like you're not guaranteed to be here during
Yep.
an election year. Because like whenever we joined during 2016
Yeah, I
during an
was
election year.
I checked into MCT the day Trump got elected.
Yep. And but like at the same time, like we didn't know if we're gonna even be able to go to elections. Like we had to register at boot camp to be able to do mail-in ballot systems.
Yeah,
And
I
all that.
didn't even I couldn't even do that.
But then when COVID came through, and they're like, oh, anybody can do it now. I was like, whoa, it's like we used to have to go through a process to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
and
so it's like
that's the main
that's where it
thing.
got a little wonky for sure. And that's what kind of like allowed it to kind of get out of hand. Because like I'm not saying that Biden specifically went out there and did it, but it's like at the same time we're such a huge country, and there's so many like different independent agencies that handle the elections, and to be like
Yep.
someone at that smaller level can't be like, oh well, I'm going to do this, like I'm going to make
Yeah.
sure that we win this. So it's like you can't pin it on any one
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
But
And
it's like
that's I mean, that's why a lot of people don't trust governments because
it's tough.
government is not Joe Biden. The government is not Trump. The government is not any one person.
Nope.
It is the people that, quite frankly, think that their ideas and their prosperity is more important than yours.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at all of them in the stock market. They all know what to buy.
Oh
They
yeah.
all know what to hit on. I don't. I don't know nothing about that. My stock market is my equipment. And that's not necessarily a good thing because equipment breaks. I got stuff broke down right now. But I'm like, I don't know how any of that stuff works. It's so inconsistent in my eyes because I don't understand that stuff. It's so inconsistent where I know, hey, I buy a crane. That crane makes $300 an hour. That I know the return there.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to go find the work, but it is there. But it's funny how all these people go in and they're bartenders and just barely squeezing out, and then all of a sudden they get rich after getting into politics.
Well, like that. It's a good example because like people like you and me and other people that have experience with the government and working inside of the government, we get an experience of like, okay, hey, yeah, to the government, we're just a number. Like you're like especially in the military, like you're a number. Like you are serialized gear to the government.
You're replaceable.
You are replaceable. Everything that you have is going to be reissued. Nothing is yours, and you are nothing. And so like once you like have that experience with the government, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, the government doesn't really care about me.
Yeah.
All I am to them is something to make money, for them to make money off of, essentially.
And
so,
I can sweep their floors for them.
100%. And so it's like for people that don't have that kind of experience, like they're like, oh yeah, the government's here for me. It's like, no, you're here for the government, whether you realize it or not.
In theory and in a perfect world, yeah, the government is supposed to be, I mean, the people are supposed to run the government, not the other way around.
I mean, that's the whole idea about the United States was to have a small government, and then have a more concrete state government, smaller, but more concrete with the local population deciding what gets done and whatnot, and a much more less centralized government.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, you move to California where they do whatever the hell they want to do.
Exactly, and so like that's supposed to be the beauty of the United States is that like you get to live and you get to choose where you live, and you get to choose you get to help choose what your state is like, and then you have the federal government that handles typically the out of country stuff is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
that's how it was founded and whatnot. And it's definitely strayed a lot more from that since then. So
it's strayed a lot. We're way different now. Look at even your entertainment industries and politics. It used to be, 100 years ago, if you were a pro football player, you played football in the fall, and then you went and you worked on the
worked.
railroad construction. You did whatever you had to do because them bills ain't getting paid.
Nope.
You played football. That's
for the love of the sport.
Yeah, you did it for the love of the sport, and that is it. Heck, even when my grandpa was growing up and like he was working at Ingles, there was pro players that worked with him.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it's off season. Now look, now you can sit on the bench and make millions.
Yeah.
And same thing with politics.
Best job in the world is being a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
you
Never get injured.
Never-
And you just
make millions and sit there, and hold a tablet and read out plays.
but
It is crazy because like even like Hollywood itself, is just a propaganda machine these days, and it's interesting like when you hear about it because like the amount of stuff that the federal government has their hand in with like war movies like 13 Hours and all that stuff.
Yep.
Like while you get a pretty somber story, the government still has a hand in like what's sold and what's not told
Yep.
in all of these movies that are like put in front of you. So like 13 Hours. What's another one? Lone Survivor. Like
American Sniper.
American Sniper. That's a big one that is a lot of government hand in that one. But it's like there's a lot that you don't get to see, especially like operating within the military. There's so much that happens within the military that you will not hear about in the civilian world, like accidents, training accidents.
Heck, just take our unit. How much stuff went on at our unit that we were at and we didn't know about?
This is also very true. I mean, like
there's stuff all the time happening behind closed doors, but and there's also the for need to know. There's people obviously have their TS and those things have their place, but it's kind of the world that we live in is there's a lot of entitlement and all for no reason. The people that were fighting brutal wars, and I'm not taking anything away from our Afghan and Iraq vets, but there's people that came back from World War One, from World War II, seeing some god awful stuff, and they were less entitled than what we got now.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like when you think about like I think a lot about Korean War vets. Like those guys are the most unsung guys that you will never hear about in the world. Because like some people get Korea and Vietnam confused with each other.
Yeah.
And for the longest time growing up, I did too. But it's like whenever you hear their stories, it's like, yeah, man,
They're both Jero. I don't know.
I watched my best buddy freeze to death. Like he was frozen solid in a block of ice next to me. And it's like, holy shit, what do you mean? It's like, oh yeah, we were surrounded by 3 divisions. We had to fight our way to retreat. Like we couldn't just retreat. We couldn't run away. Like we had to fight to run away. And it's like, what the hell? And it's like, yeah, man, we just, if you died, you died. We had to leave you. Like we couldn't take you.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, you hear these stories.
One
and it's
with
like,
nature
what
now.
the fuck?
Yeah, that's.
And it's like those guys are just, and then they come back home, and it's like you just never hear about it. And they, and to them, it's just something that you'll never ever hear about. And it's like that's just crazy to me that those guys come back and it's it. Nothing for you, nothing gained.
Yeah. Well, and Vietnam guys too. They come back. There's no
getting spit on.
Yeah.
We don't want you here. It doesn't matter if you went there on your own volition, or if you're
think
drafted.
of those guys that were POWs.
Oh my God!
They were prisoners. Even let's talk about World War II, where people were happy that you came home and they were celebrating. But if you were a POW and let's say you didn't get released till a year, 2 years after the war is over, you come home. To you, the war is just now over. Everyone else like. Yeah, that's old stuff, man. It's been over. Come on, what's up? Like you don't get that same treatment that everyone got when everything was over.
Well, I couldn't even imagine being a POW because it's like, some people don't even know that they are POWs. They think that they're KIA. It's like like they move on with like your whole time. Like imagine like you come back 2 years later, your whole family's moved on with their life and has written you off as dead. Essentially.
Yep.
And it's like then you come back and like like imagine finding out your wife has moved on, she's got a kid with someone else already. It's like you say like put yourself in that situation. It's like what the like.
There's movies about this.
There is movies about this. It's like, hey, here I am. Like I can't imagine that. Like it's just it's a brutal world, but it's like at the same time that's how a lot of this. That's how the country is. We're just too big, and people always talk about like like Sweden Switzerland is like, yeah, they have a population the size of, Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's like, that's it. Like, it's just them.
I will say though, if I was to ever not live in the United States, here's the thing, I gotta have my guns, and it's tyranny is one thing, but two, it's part of who I am. I like shooting, I like hunting, and I like protecting my family. Um, but if I had to choose where I'd live, climate has a big chunk to do with it. The Nordic regions, so Norway, Sweden, Finland, like that area, Norwegian area,
Yeah.
just that whole part of the world. To me, it's gorgeous.
It is
I mean,
gorgeous.
Iceland.
If I had to move somewhere, like one place I do like, I think I wouldn't mind living would be like Japan. Japan is a really beautiful place. People are actually really nice there.
Yeah,
It's
Japan's
a
nice. I haven't been there, but I heard Japan's real nice. I just don't care for their climate. It's the same as here.
Which I mean, like I'm used to it here.
Yeah. But I like the cold more. My wife is just, she's like, I can't live anywhere that's colder than 70 degrees. I was like, well,
Personally, I like the desert climate more. I like the dry climate, but I don't like the government so most of the dry climate. So
yeah.
probably shouldn't live out there. One place I think I would consider be like Nevada, maybe. But
Yeah, well, I've been through there. I don't know. I don't know much about the government in Utah, but I know there's a bunch of Mormons out there. But I know there's a bunch of like good terrain, just
Great
nice
terrain.
area in.
But it get cold. That's one thing. I'm not a big cold guy.
Yeah.
Like, I like the cold for like the first month, and I'm like, all right. Especially down here, I'm like, all right, you can go back.
See, I like the cold. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't say I like blistering cold. Like Montana, gorgeous. I love Montana, but I couldn't live there.
Nope.
Because it gets that cold. It gets cold enough to where you better have work lined up for you indoors, or you better have a shop and stuff like that, because it is that cold. So I don't want to do nothing like that, but I can. I like anything that, honestly, Seattle area. That's a nice area to be in. It gets like summer can get warm. It's just if you're in Seattle, it's always raining.
Oh yeah.
So that's where it kind of sucks. When it's cold and it's rainy, that's when it sucks. You can't do anything. I don't mind it being cold, because here's another way I look at it. When it's cold, I can put on clothes and I can get warm. When it's hot, I can only take off so many things before it's illegal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. So like, my cousin was up in Seattle, and he actually just got married up there, and
Nice.
you'd like him. He's a sniper in the army out in Iraq for a while, and now he's in the Coast Guard, and he's a rescue swimmer. But he's one of those. He's a tough guy. I mean, back when I was growing up around him, 'cause like I grew up around him. He's just weird, nerdy guy.
Yeah.
I remember whenever he first like, yeah, I'm gonna be a sniper. He's a little bit older than me. He's probably like in his
Nerd.
late 30s. He's almost 38 now, so he's about to retire. But like growing up, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Well, and then like sure enough, he went and did it. And then I remember like when he was getting out, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go in a service transfer and go be a rescue swimmer. And I'm like,
Okay, I guess we're doing
for
that.
So now he's up in Seattle. Got a beautiful wife now. I think they have like 6 kids together. Well, he's got his 3, and then she has her 2 or 3. But yeah, Seattle's a beautiful place. I mean,
Yeah.
Northwestern is a beautiful
I got a lot
area.
of family that lives up there. Matter of fact, I got a job. It's we're basically clearing a forest.
Yeah.
And I got to go up and manage a project. They're gonna have all the equipment there. It's just to advise and be like, yeah, I wouldn't do that, or yeah, do this. So
It'd be awesome. Be fun up there. And one thing I would love to do that I've always thought about doing, I think would be fun to be like doing like the wildfire firefighters, especially like the ones that jump in.
Yep.
That'd be a pretty once in a lifetime experience kind of job.
Yep.
Doing that, but I'm sure you gotta. I mean, that's got to be a brutal line of work, and not only dangerous. I mean, you get lost out there in the middle of the bush and surrounded by fire. You're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, you are now a marshmallow. Yeah, that's cool. I want to get some more of the guys together. I'm actually thinking about going, like, maybe not to the ball, but going out for the ball this year and seeing. Last year Mallory was, well, no, year before last Mallory was pregnant. Then last year Hayes was little enough. I was helping with that,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I might just go meet up with the dudes and.
I mean, that would definitely be a fun time. I mean, the ball nights were always just wild, though. I mean, the ball itself is like, it's like any other ball. I mean,
Yeah.
I think one of the good things about our balls, though, is that we'd always have like someone, like our guest speaker was always someone that was
Yeah,
you
like when
really
we
wanted
had
to hear from
Tig
them.
there, that was cool.
That was cool. Like there was always somebody that you wanted to hear from and hear their story, and so like it always seemed worth it. Like, it was never like a boring ball itself.
Yeah.
But then, like, yeah, the after party, the bar hopping, it always got out of hand. It felt like, who was that one sergeant that had to get their stomach pumped that one time? Were you there for that?
Yes.
He was in the U. I remember that.
Oh man.
I just remember like they found him slumped outside the door with like
I forgot his name, but I remember them talking about that.
That was like the first or second
because whenever they were doing roll call next morning,
Sergeant Major was like,
and he's like, other than so and so, is anyone else in the hospital? I was like, nice.
He's like, I remember because everyone cheered too. Like, one Marine got stomach pump.
Woo! Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, why are we cheering right now?
Yeah.
We're like, well, he's alive. He's good.
He's good. He had a good time. He won't remember it, but he had a good time.
I remember my first ball. I was definitely underage, and I was drinking more than I should have, and I had to go to the bathroom.
I didn't really drink during the. It wasn't till my last ball when I was getting out where. At that point, it was just everyone was handing them to me. I was getting out, and I remember not Lewis, Stewart. He like picks up a beer. He's like, Baranyuk, and he was gone too. He's like, Baranyuk, I don't know what's in this drink, but I promise if anything happens, I will be the only one to take advantage of you. And I took it from him and just downed it. And I was like, looking back, I was like, why'd I do that? But it was a good time. You remember Bark, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna forget good old Bart.
Yeah, he washed my house not too long ago. But I mean, heck, he's local. We hang out a good bit.
Yeah, so there's one day I was out at Crab Island drinking on my family's boat. We were on our Silverton, and sure enough, here comes Daddy Bark on a jet ski, and I'm like, hey! So we started drinking on the boat one day out there at Crab Island. You'd love Crab Island, because it's kind of like you said, like
I went there on my buddy's, with my buddy one time on his boat. I actually just sold mine. I figured I'd rather have the money and trying to get equipment paid off and get everything done like that.
Boats are a drain on the financial system.
It's just, and my boat was free to me.
Yeah.
My dad gave it to me because he was trying to sell it and people were lowballing him, and I kept asking to borrow his boat, so he gave me that one. Granted, after I got it, I repowered it, had a new Yamaha on it and all that, but it was an 18-foot bay boat. It was a small little boat. I was like, if I get another boat, I want about 23, 25 foot center console, something that I can load the kids up in it and not have to worry about them falling overboard. Like have higher gunnels on there, and so. Yeah. But in the meantime, I was like, another thing, I know way too many people with boats. My neighbor's got a boat. Cousins got boats. Heck, one of my workers, his dad just bought a 25-foot boat, and he was like, man, if you ever want to use it, feel free. And he's like,
you can never take them out enough. That's like the problem when you own one. Like, you're never going to get it out as much as you want to.
Right.
Because it's just like, it's impossible. But I'm like, everybody, it seems like everybody in the South either has a John boat or they got all the way up to like some tricked out freaking speedboat. But yeah, I remember me and Bark, we drank on Crab Island that one time. Were you there that one time? I think we were up at like McClellan, and we were in like a barracks one night. And I remember it was like the lights were out, it was dark. We were in like a squad bay for whatever reason, and I remember like hearing the beds like start screeching across the floor. I think it was Gil. It was like it was like his last drill or something, and Bark was like scooching his bed like next to him to take like a queen bed, and you hear
Yeah.
like he's like, "What are you?
I
Hell are
think
you
I
doing?"
remember that. Yeah,
He was like, "I
McClellan.
just want to be close to you."
Because were we at McClellan or Schofield that time that it was raining and we were at the range?
That
It
was
stormed and I was the only smart one
that was
stayed on
McClellan. That was fucking McClellan because they were like, I remember thinking that I thought we were gonna go home early. Like,
we're
I
in
was
two-man tents and I was like, hey, and then they're like, hey, we're supposed to have some bad weather coming through. Go ahead and kind of start packing up and be ready to move. Okay. Because that's what you were talking about.
Yep.
We were supposed to go home, and then they said, "Well, we're gonna wait it out, and we're gonna leave in the morning."
Mm-hmm.
And then
They're like,
y'all
take shelter
stayed,
wherever
like,
you can.
take shelter wherever you can. So I went and I put my stuff on the bus, because I checked it. I pushed the door open. I was like, "Hey, it's open." Pushed the door open, then I called Mallory. So I was sitting there, and I was like, I'm sure somebody's gonna come get me in a little bit, and I'll just tell Mallory, hey, I gotta go. Well, I talked to Mallory for like 30 minutes, and then after I hung up, I was playing on the phone, and I was like, is nobody gonna come get me? And then I stayed there the whole night. I get up in the morning, I walk out, I'm like, what's going on? Everyone's soaked to the bone, and Mags was like, where the hell were you? I was like, on the bus. He's like, nice.
Because I remember seeing you get off the bus because like I was in that there's like that little like shack out there.
Yeah, with the leaky roof and everything.
Hey, but it was a roof. Like fortunately, because like it was maybe like a 20 by 10 little shack, like
it was
open
like this
open
room.
window, everything. Yeah, like, it was small, so it was definitely not a room for everybody in the unit. But fortunately, I can't remember who it was. One of our corporals like drug all our tents in there real quick whenever they knew we weren't going, and so like I was underneath there, still got a little wet, and it was obviously like it was loud, it was thundering and lightning, like it was. If anybody was ever gonna die from like weather related incident, it was gonna be that night. And because like
we had tornadoes and everything.
Oh yeah, like the recon guys, like they were down like in the tree line and like nothing, and then like some guys like went underneath like the range tower, and then I remember like packing up, and then I see you like kind of like waddle off, and I'm like, what the
where's he going?
I was like whatever, and then the next morning, yeah, sure enough, you're just kind of like
I came
the
out.
only
I was
one dry. Everybody else is soaked in clothes,
wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I remember just being like that.
And Mags was bullshit. Like, because he looked at me, he's like, where the hell were you at? I was like, the bus? He goes, it was open? I was like, it is now.
The only one smart to check the bus.
And he was like, I ain't even mad at that. That's,
I mean, I never even would have thought about it. I mean, like, that's kind of like the beauty of, like, hey, man, survive, adapt, overcome.
Ain't that the truth?
So, hats off to you on that one. I mean, there was a lot of times that we did stuff that was not supposed to be.
Like, I didn't try to skate, but there was a lot that I ended up skating without trying. Like, even in Montana, when y'all had that one range that y'all didn't get back to like 2,300.
Yeah.
Because y'all had to keep police calling it. And that was the day that I was like, hey, it's fine. I'll stand back and do gear watch or, watch the armory. And that was the time that y'all got back late. And by the time y'all got back, I'd done showered, I had chow, I did all the things. I think I even went into town and got Panda Express. Like, yeah, I was on vacation, bro.
The art of skating at Third Forest was a beautiful thing, because like you could get out some of the stuff. Like I remember, I would get I never went to any of the change of command ceremonies. Never had to do them. I would always find myself on Firewatch or whatever at the front door and just sit there.
Firewatch or, dude, the computer lab.
Oh yeah,
that was, dude. I took many naps in the computer lab.
Marine
It's warm.
Courses.
It got real warm in there, and I always did this. I put my elbow on the desk, and I put my hand in my shirt. That way it doesn't just flop out. I put my hand here, and I cinch it up, and I would say just like this.
What are you
And
doing in
then-
here? Corporal course?
And then, hey, what are you doing? Marine net.
Corporal's course?
Yep.
Machine
and then
gunner's course?
And
Something.
then just, yep, whatever.
Hey,
Marine net. You know the internet's down, right? Oh, I guess it still got me in. I don't know.
must be back up now. No, like that was, there was always like something to like, because like at times, because our unit didn't drill like most other units. We'd be there for 4 days. Most units would do like 2-3 days
Yep.
max. And, so there wasn't always.
We'd have a dark month, but then we'd make it up by doing a full week.
Yeah, but it's like at the same time, there were times where we didn't have a lot to do on some of those weekends. So it was like,
Especially if we stayed at the HTC.
Oh yeah. But it was like at the same time, it was like, you need to do something. And then if you look like you're busy, then you're busy. So it's like, hey, we go to the computer lab, or go find yourself down in supply, just tossing shit around. Like, oh, we're doing a wall to wall, but you're just moving shit to boxes. Like,
Dude, that's what I was saying. I was good at it because I remember we were in that room upstairs, that classroom, and we were in the middle of some kind of PowerPoint presentation or some kind of death by PowerPoint. And I remember I was playing on my phone and I looked on Marketplace and I found a dump trailer. And it was like, dump trailers were kind of starting to get more expensive. Steel was starting to go up a little bit. And I found a dump trailer that was almost brand new. It was like a year and a half old maybe. And the guy wanted, I think, $6,500 for it. Something very reasonable. And I remember I just got up because that was another thing. Like, this isn't high school. Can I go to the bathroom? Ugh. So, like, I just got up, walked out, made it look like it was important. And then I went into S3. I was like, mags ain't in there. And most people were in that classroom. I'd already went and signed all my rosters. And because I texted, is it available? He said, yes, I've got a couple people that messaged me. I left. I'm still in uniform, went straight there. And I pull in. Basically, I ended up getting the trailer. As I'm leaving, there's another dude pulling in. So if I was 10 minutes later, I wouldn't have got the trailer. And then I come back to the unit with the trailer and Bark's like, where'd you... Bro. I was like, yep.
Man, do you remember those like active shooter drills they would do at the unit?
Remember when Post was one? I was like, that's a very fitting thing. He would be one.
He would be the one. He would be. He hated his life at that unit. Mainly because all he ever did for intel was just do weather reports.
Yeah.
But
he called him weatherman.
I don't know who was like the active shooter where like they actually like used blanks that one time. But I remember I was sitting in the one, and I don't know if you remember how the one was, but we had like that chair right next to the door that like faced the rest of the office.
Yep.
And I remember I was sitting in that chair and we had the door closed, like, and they started in a U. And so like that door just like peeked open. I remember like slowly like turning my head to see, and all I see is like the rifle
canoed.
literally like right behind my head, and it just starts pop, pop, pop. And I mean, like, blanks they're not as powerful, but it's still like rocked my ear. Yeah, like inside a closed room. I remember being like, I went straight to the ground. I was like, what the f-? At first I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And it's terrible because my instinct wasn't, oh, it's an active shooter. No, I was like, who the fuck is being a dipshit right now?
Yeah. Who got a hold of the blank?
And so like, cause like you can tell like there's a difference. Like if it was like a real round, like it would have like deafened the fuck out of me.
Well, and you'd have been dead.
Yeah, and I would have been dead too.
Wouldn't have had to worry about that.
But I just remember like they were like, active shooter, y'all are dead, and we were like, well, okay,
thanks.
Guess we're doing this now. And so like we just sat in the one, but like I remember I was sitting there for like a good like 10 minutes, like.
That was I remember Sergeant Major Moore.
Your hearing loss is not service related.
Well, yeah, that's, they did tell me that. I got denied everything. But, no, Sergeant Major Moore was talking about, he's like, hey, if we have an active shooter, this is, the procedure QRF's going to get into their position. He said, I'm going to grab the guide on because I want to be the first Sergeant Major in history to pig spear a motherfucker.
Yes,
and I was
remember that.
That lives in my head to this day.
To this day. I remember that. They were all like, fuck
he
yeah.
wasn't a big dude, but he's just like, I'm grabbing the guide on because I'm a pig spear that dude.
I'm gonna be the first one to get a confirmed kill with the guide on.
Yeah.
And like, because like you could just like if it's gonna be anybody, it's gonna be a sergeant major that gets that kill. And you can just you could see it in your head with that guy of him just full on thrusting that into somebody's throat. It'd be a beautiful thing.
Yep.
But fortunately, we never had any issues. But I remember there was always like someone doing some stupid shit with like some sort of terrorist flag outside of the compound. And we're like, we're down there about that little like park area.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, we got significant terrorist threats, and they're like, don't let people know you're a Marine. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they know we're Marines. I mean, we only just go running outside the wall.
Bravo.
It was always
Charlie.
something. It was always something.
I love how they never changed the code.
Never changed the code.
But it was always they did change it, but there was always one that worked.
Yes, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Like I never had to get a new code. It was always the same one.
Well, the same one. It was like, really, this is the number we're going with?
But it's like the gate for the actual like compound was never shut. It was almost always open.
Yeah. The only time it was ever shut was when National Guard was there.
Yeah, and there was never like a guard when it was open. Like unless the National Guard was there, they'd have someone that would check IDs. But like that was it. And then it's like we were beyond our fire watching. We were supposed to like check IDs, and like most of the time it was everybody that we knew, so it was kind of like nothing. But it was like I remember we had someone call in. There was like the one time that like they said that like we got like a legitimate threat, and so like it was like me. Who was our security guy? I remember I think he was a sergeant or staff sergeant. He was in the boat locker. I can't think of his name.
Everline.
Yes, Everline. So it was like me, Everline, and then like two other guys. Like they had us out there in like full kit. But like with lounge condition 1, we were just sitting out front the unit though behind the walls. And I remember sitting there with my helmet on, and I was like, this is fucking stupid.
I remember the guy that I don't remember the guy, but I remember there was a guy right before I got there that indeed a saw into the roof of Fort Whiting.
Because you like, I remember
there's still like, because the little bar thing, you can still see the nick, and you can see the hole where it went. And I was like,
they replaced the glass though where it shattered through.
Yeah, well, whenever they were talking about it, I was like, there's no way that's real. No, it's real.
I remember when I first checked in, I can't remember if it was Birth Service Patrol that sat me down there. Like we got like 3 ground rules at the unit here.
Don't ND.
Don't ND. Don't try and That one was, I was like, what? And I was like, you know what? I should not ask what. I'm gonna just nod my head and say okay to that.
Don't ask why. Just keep
nod your head and say
listening.
okay. And don't drink antifreeze.
I remember that. That was the day I checked in, because it was oh man, what was his name?
He was the supply.
He was in supply. He was the black guy.
Yeah.
And,
I can't think of his name either right now.
I remember Boyd, because he did that the day I checked in, or that drill weekend.
Which, to clarify, was not his fault. It was not his fault.
They put antifreeze in
in the water cans.
In
the water jugs, right next to the water.
Yeah, they didn't label it, nothing. They were just water jugs all sitting there.
Motor T's fault.
Yep.
But yeah, he ended up drinking.
He said
he thought it was Kool-Aid whenever he poured it, which that's on him. That is his fault. The green liquid is not Kool-Aid. But
I thought it was apple Kool-Aid, cuz.
Yeah, I felt I remember just like checking it, and I was like, "What? Okay."
It's got a certain smell though, and I don't know if he like took a gulp or if he like got it in his mouth and was like, "Oh, that ain't Kool-Aid."
I don't know either, but I just remember like that was one of the 3
ground
rules
yep.
they laid down to me. And at first I thought like the indie thing, I was like, obviously cool, yeah. And then like once we got to the second, third rule, I was like, okay, no, this is like oddly specific.
This is yeah. Why?
Yep. Okay, is there anything else I should look out for? And it's like, nope, just those 3. As long as you don't do those 3, you should be good. Then I think they added on, don't flood the hotel bathrooms.
Yeah.
They added that one in there.
Yep.
I think don't shoot your dad. Don't do that. I don't remember that one.
No. Oh. Oh, yeah.
Now you do.
Yeah.
Don't shoot your dad.
Murked his dad.
No, didn't. Failed. His dad survived. Yeah.
Oh, he did? I thought he shot him in the head. No. I knew it was like over an argument. Like it wasn't an accident.
He shot him like 3 times. He shot him like 9 times, but only hit him 3 times. But his dad survived.
Oh, pizza box.
For sure.
Whatever
After last Saturday, I saw I reposted it too because someone posted they're like pizza
box. Yeah, that was.
That one had me dying a little bit on the inside. I was like, that is kind of funny. I love
was
that
trying
video.
to see what all the. Oh, and don't use your GTCC card to buy grills.
Fortunately, they shut the cards off. I remember one time though, I had a silver Visa too. Like that was my own personal one. They're literally identical. And I remember I was sitting there thinking I was at a freaking car wash trying to get my car washed, and I was like, why the hell isn't my card working? And literally Padron called me. He was like, whatever you're doing, fucking stop. I was like, what? I was like, oh shit. It was my GTCC. Fortunately, it was off. It didn't work.
And that's the thing is like there's almost no way I never used mine. I straight up like after hearing the horror stories, I literally never used mine. I got it and it sat on my in my dresser, and whenever I'd go somewhere on orders, I would pay for it.
Yeah, and just get your reimbursement.
And then I would try to get reimbursed, and if I didn't, well, at least I'm not ninja punched because turns out you're only allowed one sandwich a day, not two. Oh man, it's like they had so many rules. I was like, this is dumb.
Fortunately, I mean, when I would come on ADOS, I'd use it, but I was also on the one, so like I knew how to. They also would get all my receipts done for me and that kind of stuff. So like I never had an issue with it getting put back on there. But like I remember because Cummings, like we did that AT, he made $40 for that AT. Like because like while he
was paying it off till he got out.
He could not he couldn't get out until it was all paid off. Like so like he had to. Uncle Sam got theirs back. Don't worry about it. Like it wasn't. That was a slap on the wrist. Like he had to pay it back, but like at the same time, it sucked for him because whenever he'd come to drill, like if it was like a regular drill weekend, he made like $8, and like AT he made $40. Like that's all he actually got in his hands.
And he was already down.
Down, yeah, like on his luck. And nicest guy ever, still like a good friend.
He still smoke like a train.
Oh, I don't know. I for sure. I doubt he's quit. I mean. Everybody in the military has some sort of addiction. Mine was definitely energy drinks, probably the least worst out of all of them. But like everybody at the unit either dipped or smoked or something.
Yeah, caffeine, nicotine, or
alcoholism.
Codeine.
No, I mean like there were some guys that had worse problems than Cummings. Just you just would never know about it until it came out. Like shooting your dad. Like that was a shock. That guy was brand new at the unit too.
Yeah, I think he'd been there like
that was one drill, and then it was like, hey, I just remember coming in, and he was like in the U almost all the time after that, because like he couldn't go anywhere, he had to stay.
What was his name?
I want to say it started with a K. I can see his face, but I can't think of his name.
See, I never saw his face, but I thought it was, I thought it started with an M.
It might have started with an M. He was a calm guy.
I thought Montenegro.
It was Sergeant Montenegro. That was his
name. But
it
wasn't. There was two Montenegros. There was another one that came later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was another Montenegro there too.
I don't remember him.
Because he stayed there he lives in Mobile. He does jiu-jitsu and stuff like that.
You sure you're not thinking of the same guy? Because he's out. He didn't go to jail or anything like that. You might be thinking of the same guy.
Let me see.
Because from what I understood, like he was held by the Marine Corps until like everything was processed and done, and as far as I'm aware, he got out of it without jail time. That's him.
I was thinking it was someone else.
Nope, that is him. That is him. Yeah.
So why did he shoot him?
So I remember like reading. Something in the one, you get access to a lot of files that everybody else in the unit does not have access to.
Mm-hmm.
And so people would ask me. So I remember reading it, but it was something stupid. Like it was honestly like the most stupidest thing. I want to say it was like might have been over a girl or something like that. But he pulled it out, shot 9 times, and only hit him like 3 times. But his dad survived, and then he escaped jail time. And then I think he got ninja punched by the Marine Corps, but nothing crazy. Like he got out of it shockingly scot-free, but like, he'd never had any issues in the Marine Corps, so like, he had a good record. He's already a sergeant, but
because I thought it was another guy.
No, that was him. So he was like there was like at least like maybe like 6 or 8 months where like he could not leave the unit. It's like he was there like on ADOS technically for like that whole time, and so like he would be up in the one when I'd come in because he was technically a comm guy. But comm didn't always have stuff to do for him, but the one had stuff to do all the time. So he was like, he was just up there. And I remember like, he's a nice guy, like as you probably know.
Yeah.
And so it was real shocking, but yeah, he's doing okay. I think he's learned his lesson. But hey, don't shoot your dad.
So
Another ground rule.
All right, so if you're gonna be in the Marine Corps, if you're gonna go to Third Force, don't shoot your dad. Don't
Drink antifreeze.
don't drink antifreeze. Don't ND. Don't. There's just certain things.
It's just certain things you just.
If you got to
don't
make rules,
do.
maybe you shouldn't be in the Marine Corps.
If you have to question yourself on any of those, then yeah, don't come to Third Force. Just go ahead and do yourself a favor. Don't join the Marines. We've got enough bad apples as it is.
Yeah. Well, we almost out of batteries and storage, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, you need to go take a nap, old man. Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate you coming out. It was good catching up. We'll Mallory's been wanting to go to Destin, so I might hit you up if you ain't in college.
If I'm there,
if you're
I'll be there.
I'll come check you out. It's been, what, 3 years? 2.5 for sure.
At least 2.5, yeah. No.
2.5 since January of 22.
Yeah, my last show was February, but yeah, I think you got out before me.
I got out before you then.
Yeah, because I had to come back and do more stuff and whatnot.
Gotcha. But all right, my name's Sam. This was SamBar Podcast, episode 3, and appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, comment, all the stuff. YouTube was invented yesterday. If you're watching, you probably know what you need to do. Help us out. Appreciate it. Have a good day.